Chapter 207. Looking at Mu Hongyan's reaction, Li Xiaotian said to himself, I guess that you must know about the Li Palace, unlike some people who don't know anything. Book Friend Group Plus. As he said this, he gave Tang Jing a meaningful glance. Tang Jing found that Mu Hongyan's reaction was so big that he knew that the Li Palace was not ordinary. Looking at her disdainful eyes, he retorted, Li Xiaoan, don't use your name to scare people. Li Xiaotian smiled confidently, whether I am scaring people or not, I believe that Madame Long will have her own judgment. Mu Hongyan glanced at Tang Jing, as if thinking about how Tang Jing was entangled with the people of the Li Palace, and it seemed that there was not a small conflict. However, she reacted quickly and adjusted her mood in an instant, saying, Since you are a person of the Li Palace, of course I welcome you. Seeing this, Tang Jing did not say anything more, but he also had a further understanding of the Li Palace. The car was as fast as lightning. Dianan was like spring all year round. Even though it was the dog days of June, it was not too hot. Nana was lying in Tang Jing's arms, pointing out the scenery outside the window to introduce to Tang Jing. Mu Hongyan added a few words from time to time, making them listen with relish. Li Xiaotian continued to show his natural familiarity, constantly looking for topics to chat with Mu Hongyan, and asked without regard, Nana, I heard you call him Brother Godly Doctor, why? Is his medical skills very good? Of course, Brother Godly Doctor. Nanan was just about to say that her illness was cured by Tang Jing when Tang Jing's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick as he hurriedly stopped her. Nana carefully thought about it, and unexpectedly understood. She pouted like a ghost and said, You must have made Brother Godly Doctor angry, so I won't talk to you. Li Xiaotian's face stiffened. Eating in the hands of the child, she awkwardly turned her head. Tang Jing laughed loudly, Ha, Nana, good, but you can't talk to this kind of bad person, otherwise you will be led astray by her. If you become a bad child, no one will like you. Fang Shishir gave Nana a thumbs up. Nana excitedly nodded and said, Nana, remember, don't talk to this kind of bad person, Nana will not become a bad child, otherwise Brother Godly Doctor will not like me. Yes, Nana is a good child, I like you very much. Tang Jing touched her delicate face, and Tang Jing said with a smile. Li Xiaoyan angrily glared back and said, Handsome Tang, I think you are the one teaching bad things to this child. That's not it, Brother Godly Doctor is a good person, Nana listens to him and not you, you are a bad person. Nana pretended to be serious and said seriously. Unknowingly, the car drove through a tall carved iron gate and entered a huge building complex. This building complex was built on the mountain, but it was not a tall building, but an ancient building. Moreover, it was several times larger than Yidingdong's manor, and more importantly, the mountain seemed to be included in this huge building complex. Fang Shishir looked out the window in surprise. She was from a small rich family, but she was also shocked by this large amount, and quietly asked, What does Nana's family do? To occupy such a large area, it is like an ancient palace. Compared to an imperial palace, of course it was exaggerated, but looking at this richly decorated ancient building complex, a sense of vicissitudes of history came rushing over. Tang Jing shook his head, indicating that he was not clear about the Long family's background. Li Xiaotian caught a glimpse of the two's movements from the corner of his eyes, and his eyebrows rose. Tang Jing seemed to be very familiar with Mu Hongyan, but he did not know the Long family's background. It was really strange. The car was parked in a wide parking lot, and there were several luxury cars next to it, as if it was a small car show. Under the guidance of Mu Hongyan, the few people came to a 2-story building, and first arranged for a few people to stay. This small building only had 3 guests, Tang Jing, and Mu Hongyan then said to Tang Jing, Nana's grandfather wants to see you. Tang Jing was slightly startled, and immediately understood that it must be because he cured Nana, so he nodded to show that he understood. Miss Li, you first rest, if you need anything just tell the servant. Mu Hongyan said. Li Xiaotian nodded, but looked at Tang Jing even more strangely. The Long family's old man was actually in such a hurry to see him. Just who was he? Why did the Li Palace never pay attention to him? She could not help but feel a little angry. The Li Palace's information had always been the most up-to-date and complete, but they had overlooked such an important person. When she returned in the future, she would definitely rectify it. Tang Jing followed Mu Hongyan to a large study room. This study room was like a library, with several walls filled with bookshelves filled with all kinds of books. Nana jumped down from Tang Jing's embrace and threw herself at a hale and hearty old man and cheered, "Grandfather, brother godly doctor is here." This old man was the head of the Long family, Long Xinyuan. He looked at Tang Jing with bright eyes, held Nana's hand, and walked over to Tang Jing. He stretched out his big hand, held Tang Jing, and laughed. "So you are the brother godly doctor that Nana has been talking about. You are indeed a talented person, young and promising." Tang Jing could clearly feel the surging qi and blood in the other party's body. Although he could not see through the other party's cultivation, there was no doubt that he was a true expert. "Hello, old Master Long," Tang Jing said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. "You are called Tang Jing, right? I am Long Xinyuan, the head of the Long family. I still owe you a thank you for saving Nana's life." Long Xuanyuan's expression revealed some excitement as he said. Tang Jing looked at Nana and said with a smile, "This is fate between Nana and me." "What a good fate. Sit down first, I want to have a good chat with you. I have heard a lot about you, even the king of medicine is full of praise for you, and wants to take you in as his disciple." Tang Jing said indifferently, "That is the king of medicine senior's love. I am just an ordinary boy, I do not deserve such praise. Why not? As far as I am concerned, the king of medicine was helpless against Nana's illness, but you cured her illness with medicine, and I heard that you did not only save Nana, but also Yi Xuanji, that old man, was cured by you. It is really admirable." Old Xinyuan sighed. Tang Jing's heart moved. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. Even Long Xinyuan knew about him curing Yi Xuanji. Long Xinyuan saw through his thoughts and explained, "Tang Jing, don't misunderstand, only Hong Yan and I know about this matter, no one else knows." Tang Jing sighed in relief and said, "Thank you. I really don't want too many people to know about this matter. After all, I don't have the life-continuing pill in my hands. If others come to me for treatment, I can only be helpless. The life-continuing pill is so precious. Of course it is rare, I understand. This time, you come to Dianan to stay for a while, have fun, and let our Long family be the host. I will play in Dianan for a while. I will have to disturb old master." "No problem." Bang! Suddenly, the study room door was pushed open, and a person hurriedly came in and shouted, "Dad, something happened." Long Xuanyuan's expression turned cold, and said in a deep voice, "Panicking, what are you doing? Can't you see that I am receiving a guest?" As he spoke, an imposing aura burst out, causing people's hearts to involuntarily tighten. The person who came in was the second young master of the Long family, Long Tingyu. He was stunned for a moment, and his gaze stopped on Tang Jing's body, flashing a look of surprise. Tang Jing also sized up the other party without leaving a trace. He was in his 20s, had an imposing appearance, and was a veritable handsome man. "Dad, there is an urgent matter." Long Tingyu said. Long Xinyuan nodded. "Tang Jing, go and rest with Hong Yan first, I will drink with you during the lunch banquet." Tang Jing got up and left, holding Nana's hand, and Mu Hongyan walked out together. "Dad, who is this person?" Long Tingyu looked at Tang Jing suspiciously, and his gaze swept over Mu Hongyan. When the two of them walked out of the room, he hurriedly asked. Long Xinyuan did not answer, and asked, "You just said that there was an urgent matter, what happened?" "Wang Fuchuan was killed. It happened last night, on the train back." Long Tingyu said. Long Xuanyuan's face darkened. "Killed? What happened? Didn't you send 3 martial artists to protect him?" "The 3 martial artists are also dead, all of them were injured by a blunt weapon in the throat, killed in one blow." Long Tingyu said in bewilderment. This result was unbelievable to him. "The person who killed him is an expert." Long Xinyuan said thoughtfully, "Are there any clues?" "The police saw the murderer, but he escaped, but there are still a few suspects information collected by the police. I have already sent people to investigate, and the information should be back soon. Daring to kill our Long family's people, we must find the other party, otherwise, people will look down on our Long family." Long Tingyu said with righteous indignation. Long Xianyuan muttered, "Of course we have to find the mastermind, but from what you described, this time it was definitely done by a professional killer, and there won't be many clues left. But since the police have clues, then we will follow the vine to find the melon and see if we can find anything." "Yes, Dad, this time Wang Fuchuan specially came back to report that matter, and was killed on the way. Then this matter is too worth pondering. Who is behind the scenes?" Long Xianyuan sneered, "Of course it is coveting my Long family's people. Wang Fuchuan also deserves to die. He actually dared to betray my Long family. Even if he is not killed this time, I will teach him a lesson when he comes back." Ding ding. Suddenly, Long Tinyu's phone rang. He was overjoyed. "Dad, the police sent a message." A few pictures and some simple information appeared on his phone. "It's actually a beauty, and not just one, two beauties. There is also a man. Why does this person look so familiar?" Long Tinyu frowned suspiciously. Suddenly, his eyes lit up and shouted, "Isn't this the brat just now?" On the phone were the photos of Tang Zheng, Fang Shishir, and Li Xiaotian, but there were some differences in the photos on the ID card, so Long Tinyu did not recognize Tang Zheng at a glance. But this was enough to surprise him. The suspect of Wang Fuchuan's murder case actually came to the Long family. It was too unbelievable. "Let me see." Long Xianyuan took the phone and looked. Who else could it be if not Tang Zheng? Moreover, the identity information on the phone was clear at a glance. It was Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng was actually involved in Wang Fuchuan's murder case, and Wang Fuchuan was a member of the Long family. Long Xuanyuan's two thick eyebrows immediately twisted, and his eyes became incomparably sharp, like a blade. Chapter 208. Long Xianyuan was thinking. Tang Zheng saved Nana, but was involved in Wang Fuchuan's murder case. He didn't know if this was a coincidence or intentional. But no matter what, this matter had to be investigated thoroughly. Since Tang Zheng was living in the Long family, there was no need to rush. "I will naturally ask about this matter clearly. You don't have to worry about it," Long Xianyuan said in a deep voice. Seeing that his father did not reveal the other party's identity, Long Tinyu's heart sank. Could it be that this kid had a big background? No, seeing that he was very familiar with Mu Hongyan, could it be that he was one of Mu Hongyan's people? Long Tinyu left the study with a gloomy expression, only to see Mu Hongyan returning alone. He hurriedly went up to her and said with a smile, "Sister-in-law, why didn't you accompany the guests and come back again?" Mu Hongyan said, "I still have something to do with Dad." "Oh, what is it? Is it convenient to tell me? I can also share sister-in-law's worries and solve her problems." Long Tingyu's face could not hide the frivolous expression on his face. Mu Hongyan faintly smiled. She walked past him and headed straight for the study. Long Tingyu seemed to be used to her cold attitude and asked casually, "Sister-in-law, who is that kid just now? He seems to be quite close to you." Mu Hongyan stopped and turned to look at him angrily and said, "He is my friend." "Oh, how come I've never seen him before?" "Sister-in-law, introduce your friend to me in the future. Why don't I invite sister-in-law to dinner tonight and hear about your friend? Ever since sister-in-law came back from outside, I haven't invited you to dinner," Long Tingyu said unscrupulously. The anger between Mu Hongyan's brows grew even stronger. She took a deep breath, and her towering chest heaved up and down, making Long Tingyu reluctant to look away. "I'm not free," Mu Hongyan said coldly and pushed the door open to enter the study. She was very clear about what Long Tingyu was planning. Ever since her husband passed away, Long Tingyu had been plotting against her sister-in-law. Recently, he had become more and more unbridled, causing her to be extremely annoyed. Seeing Mu Hongyan's graceful figure disappear through the door, Long Tingyu did not hide the lust in his eyes as he muttered, "Why are you pretending to be virtuous with me? One day, I will take you." Mu Hongyan was indeed a stunner, a mature stunner that made men palpitate with eagerness. In the study, Long Xianyuan jumped up from his seat when he heard Mu Hongyan's words. He exclaimed, "You said that people from the Li Palace came to our house?" Mu Hongyan nodded. "Just now, she came with Tang Zheng. It is said that they met on the train." "Train?" Long Xianyuan frowned. Why was it a train again? Could it be that Wang Fuchuan's death was related to the Li Palace? But it shouldn't be. the Long family and the Li Palace had never had any enmity. Did the people from the Li Palace say their intentions? Mu Hongyan shook her head and said, "No, but I can see that her relationship with Tang Zheng is not ordinary." How could Tang Zheng be related to the people from the Li Palace? Mu Hongyan shook her head blankly. This matter must be investigated thoroughly. You should first find out her purpose. No, you should directly invite her to see me. Since she has already revealed her identity, our Long family naturally cannot neglect our guests. Mu Hongyan deeply agreed. After a while, she brought Li Xiaotian in, closed the door, and left. After a long time, Li Xiaotian was personally escorted out of the study by Long Shenyuan. "Miss Li, I wish you a good time in Dianan. If you need anything, just let me know. I will fully cooperate," Long Shenyuan said with a serious face. Li Xiaotian chuckled and said, "Then I will thank Master Long." Mu Hongyan looked at the two suspiciously. It was inconvenient to ask what they talked about, so she left with Li Xiaoan, leaving Long Shenyuan to return to his chair and fall into contemplation. It turns out that one of the two women on the train is from the Li Palace. Moreover, she is the Holy Maiden of the Li Palace. In the future, the Holy Maiden will be in charge of the Li Palace. At this time, a good relationship with her is absolutely beneficial to the future development of the Long family. It's just that she has been hiding the true purpose of this trip, making it difficult to figure out. The Holy Maiden of the Li Palace going out to gain experience is not a simple sightseeing. Li Xiaotian did not care about Long Xuanyuan's thoughts. She wanted to inquire more about Tang Zheng's background. She asked Mu Hongyan about Tang Zheng's information. Mu Hongyan talked about him, making Li Xiaotian helpless. However, her interest in Tang Zheng became stronger. When the two returned to the door of the small building, they heard a roar coming from inside. Mu Hongyan's face suddenly changed, because she clearly heard that it was Long Tingyu's voice. As long as there was Long Tingyu, there would be no peace. He must be the one causing trouble. So, she rushed into the small building. Li Xiaotian's eyes lit up, and there was a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. She also quickly followed up. In the small building, Tang Zheng and Long Tingyu were confronting each other. Nana pouted and unhappily grabbed Tang Zheng's hand, while Fang Shishir stood angrily at the side. "What happened?" Mu Hongyan asked with a heavy face. Fang Shishir quickly said, "Sister Mu, this person is too rude. He suddenly rushed in and wanted to capture us, saying that we are related to some murder case." Just now, when the three of them were resting in the small building, Long Tingyu walked in and asked Tang Zheng why he killed Wang Fuchuan. Tang Zheng was confused. Long Tingyu also saw Fang Shishir. Wasn't she the girl in the photo? Immediately, he was even more certain that the other party was related to the murder case, so he directly wanted to capture the two of them. Long Tingyu's unscrupulous behavior was not without reason. He was sure that Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan had a close relationship. If he could confirm that the murder case was related to the two, then Mu Hongyan would be implicated and her status in the Long family would plummet. Only by knocking Mu Hongyan down from the altar would he have a chance to get close to her. In order to get Mu Hongyan, Long Tingyu had put in a lot of effort. However, Tang Zheng was not someone who could be needed by others. Of course, he would not go with him. Thus, Long Tingyu flew into a rage and prepared to make a move. Just at this time, Mu Hongyan walked in. "What are you doing?" she shouted angrily. Long Tingyu's face did not change. He righteously said, "Sister-in-law, you came at the right time. This person is related to Wang Fuchuan's murder case, so I want to bring him back for investigation." "Wang Fuchuan's murder case? What happened? He's dead?" Mu Hongyan asked in surprise. Please recommend. Chapter 209. Looking at Long Tingyu, who had a sinister expression and was in incomparable pain, Mu Hongyan opened his eyes wide in shock. He never expected that Tang Zheng would actually make a move, and the effect of his attack was so terrifying. Reading comfortably, she couldn't help but think of the assassin who had been turned into an idiot by Tang Zheng's hands. However, the key point was that Long Tingyu was not an assassin, but the young master of the Long family. However, the young master of the Long family was not worth mentioning in front of Tang Zheng. He had become a defeated opponent who couldn't even withstand a single blow, and was in such a sorry state. "I'm going to kill you." Long Tingyu's face turned into the color of a pig's liver, and he roared angrily, "Mu Hongyan, you brought people to hurt me, and even hid in this brat's embrace. It's immoral." Mu Hongyan was shocked, and subconsciously left Tang Zheng's embrace, and said angrily, "Long Tingyu, what nonsense are you spouting? I'm your sister-in-law, how dare you slander me like this?" You know that you're my sister-in-law, yet you're protecting outsiders. Furthermore, you're even flirting with each other. Tell me, who's right and who's wrong?" Long Tingyu wanted to occupy the moral high ground and take this opportunity to pull Mu Hongyan down from the altar and let his father see her true colors. It was a great humiliation to have such a woman at home. Long Tingyu's intentions were sinister, even Tang Jing could not stand it anymore, and frowned deeply. Although Nana did not understand these words, but seeing her mother trembling in anger, she cried out, "Bad person, he's a bad person, brother godly doctor, bad person is bullying mommy, you have to help mommy, woo." Seeing that, Mu Hongyan hugged Nana in her arms and comforted her, "Nana, don't cry, we don't care about bad people, don't be afraid." Nana buried her head in Mu Hongyan's arms and shivered, "Nana is not afraid, Mom, don't be afraid, with brother godly doctor here, no one can hurt Mom and Nana." Long Tingyu was furious, even the child did not put him in his eyes, and it was obvious that he had deep feelings for Tang Jing, which provoked him even more, and he roared, "Mu Hongyan, you still dare to say that you and this brat have nothing to do with each other, even this girl is so clingy to him. I think he is the Xiao Bai face that you raised outside, to actually dare to bring Xiao Bai face back to the Long family? None of you can even think about leaving today." These words were too vicious. Mu Hongyan was so angry that his entire body was trembling, his face flushed red. He pointed at Long Tingyu and said, "Long Tingyu, you are going too far." Tang Zheng was also angered by these words. He and Mu Hongyan were innocent, yet they were insulted like this. Furthermore, Feng Shishir was still by her side. What did she think? Immediately he rushed towards Long Tingyu. "If you don't know how to speak, then I'll teach you." His speed was very fast. Long Tingyu staggered back until he was in front of the wall, and had no way to retreat. Tang Zheng was already in front of him, and grabbed his collar. Long Tingyu anxiously extended his hand to block, but he had already lost one of his arms. How could he be a match for Tang Zheng? In the blink of an eye, Tang Zheng had grabbed onto his other arm. Kacha! His arm was dislocated and drooped down. Long Tingyu let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. Cold sweat poured out and his face was as pale as paper. Tang Zheng did not stop there. His big hand directly grabbed onto Long Tingyu's neck, lifted him up, and fiercely threw him at Mu Hongyan's feet. Long Tingyu was like a wild dog at Mu Hongyan's feet. He was in a sorry state as he cried out miserably. Tang Zheng's series of actions were as fast as lightning. Before the others could react, they saw this scene and were immediately dumbstruck. Li Xiaoyan's eyes were like bright stars in the night sky, growing brighter and brighter as he stared at Tang Zheng. Feng Shishir, on the other hand, looked at Tang Zheng with a face full of concern, unable to hide the fear on his face. At the scene, the happiest person was Nana. She clapped her hands excitedly and cheered, "Brother Godly Doctor is so powerful. Beat the bad guy, beat the bad guy." Mu Hongyan lowered his head to look at Long Tingyu who was at his feet, and felt as if he was dreaming. Long Tingyu had always been high and mighty, and had harassed her in every possible way, but she was powerless to do anything about it. She never thought that Long Tingyu would be lying at her feet, in such a sorry state. However, she instantly realized that something was wrong. Tang Zheng's treatment of Long Tingyu was tantamount to poking a huge hole in the sky. Even if he saved Nana's life, it would still bring him a lot of trouble. Long Tingyu was a person who would definitely seek revenge for the smallest grievance. After suffering such a great humiliation, he would definitely not let it go and would definitely wait for an opportunity to take revenge. As expected, Long Tingyu struggled to stand up and roared, "Brat, I will definitely kill you. I will burn your bones and scatter your ashes, so that you will never be able to turn over a monk." Bang! What answered him was a ruthless kick from Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng stepped on his body, causing him to fall flat on his face. The bridge of his nose hit the ground and blood flowed out. "You still dare to threaten me? Do you believe that I will kill you right now?" Killing intent burst out from Tang Zheng's eyes. Back then, he didn't even dare to give face to Yi Xuanji, let alone a hedonistic young master like Long Tingyu. Li Xiaotian looked at Tang Zheng with interest. He really wanted to kill him. Interesting, there were probably very few people in this world who dared to kill the young master of the Long family. He was really a different person. Long Tingyu's pig-like scream spread far and wide, alarming the people of the Long family. A woman's voice came from afar. "Who dares to hurt my son?" A graceful and noble woman entered the small building under the escort of a large group of people. When she saw Long Tingyu being stepped on the ground, the woman turned pale with fright and screamed, "Ah, my son, how did you become like this?" Then his gaze landed on Tang Zheng's body, and he flew into a rage. "Do it, kill this person. He dares to hurt my son. He deserves to die." So. Two powerful men jumped out from behind her. The two of them were actually first-stage post-celestial stage warriors, and in the blink of an eye, they were in front of Tang Zheng. The moment the two of them made their moves, they were extremely dangerous. They greeted Tang Zheng from top to bottom, left to right, and covered almost all directions. Tang Zheng growled. He lifted Long Tingyu up with the tip of his foot and smashed him towards the two of them. Seeing that, the two of them withdrew their attacks and retreated in shock, afraid that they would hurt Long Tingyu. Tang Zheng followed him like a shadow, hiding behind Long Tingyu. He punched out again and again. Bang bang. Two punches landed on their chests, and the two of them flew out like kites with their strings cut, unable to stand up again. This attack was Tang Zheng's full-strength attack. Its power was extraordinary, and it was bound to hit the target with one strike, as well as disintegrate the opponent's fighting strength. These two first-stage post-celestial stage warriors were afraid of breaking the vases, so they received Tang Zheng's most ferocious attack and instantly lost their fighting strength. Taking care of two first-stage post-celestial stage warriors in one move, this scene deeply shocked everyone. Even the aggressive woman was dumbstruck. A very discordant voice rang out. Nana clapped excitedly and shouted, "Brother Godly Doctor is so awesome, you defeated all the bad guys." Mu Hongyan's heart trembled. She immediately stopped her shouting daughter, because she saw that her mother-in-law's face was already like the sky before a storm, so gloomy that it was difficult to breathe. Li Xiaotian smacked her lips. She had a new understanding of Tang Zheng's strength. To be able to defeat two first-stage post-celestial stage warriors, just what cultivation level was he at, and how much was he hiding? What an enigmatic handsome guy. Mrs. Long supported his son, wiped the blood off his face with a pained heart, and screamed, "Who exactly are you? How dare you behave atrociously in the Long family?" Long Tingyu finally heaved a sigh of relief and said with a sad face, "Mom, you have to uphold justice for me. This brat is Mu Hongyan's lover. He came to the Long family to show off his strength. This is treating the Long family as if there is no one left." As he said that, a sinister look flashed across his eyes. "Mu Hongyan, let's see what you can do this time. If you dare to hurt me, I will take everything away from you." Mrs. Long loved his son dearly, and did not have much of a good impression of Mu Hongyan, because she had always thought that Mu Hongyan was a jinx. Not long after she married his eldest son died. She attributed all of this to Mu Hongyan, and even Nana did not have a good expression. This pair of mother and daughter were despised by her in every aspect of the Long family. If not for Mu Hongyan's excellent talent in business and managing such a large family business for the Long family, he would have been kicked out of the family long ago. This time, it was actually Mu Hongyan who brought her lover back to hurt Long Tingyu. Mrs. Long was already extremely angry and only had one thought: to chase this pair of jinx out of the Long family and definitely not let them stay any longer. Mrs. Long bared his teeth and said, "All right, Mu Hongyan, you are not a woman. I will teach you a good lesson today. Men, aren't you very good at fighting? Let me see how good he is at fighting. Call everyone over and break this brat's legs first. Then I will slowly torture him." Mu Hongyan turned pale with fright. He suppressed the shame and anger in his heart and explained, "Grandma, This is all a misunderstanding, this is all his nonsense. These are the guests of the Long family, you can't do this. Guest, how come I didn't know that the Long family had such a guest? Mrs. Long remained unmoved. Mu Hongyan's heart was in a mess. He knew that at this juncture, no matter how he explained, it was useless. A huge battle was unavoidable. All of this was caused by Long Tingyu stirring up trouble, reversing black and white. It was too vicious. Tang Jing laughed bitterly. What was originally a happy trip had ended up like this, and he was even in danger. It was truly unexpected. He stood in front of Fang Shishir and said in a low voice, "When the fight starts, you wait for the opportunity to leave first. I'll cover the back." "No, I want to fight side by side with you," Fang Shishir said firmly. "Be good, the other party has a lot of people, it's not the time to act on impulse. If someone attacks, you must not be lenient," Tang Jing warned. Fang Shishir bit her lips, wanting to say something but hesitated. In the end, she nodded her head in agreement. She knew that if she stayed, she would only be a burden to Tang Jing. Tang Jing then looked at Li Xiaotian and said, "I don't care what you want to do, when the fight starts, you have to protect the mother and daughter and leave." Li Xiaoan laughed involuntarily. "Are you really planning to start a war with them? Can we not fight? All of this is because of you. If you didn't involve us in the murder case, how could the situation become like this? Therefore, you can't escape the blame. I don't care what kind of organization the Li Palace is, I only hope that you can protect the mother and daughter. Otherwise, even if I become a ghost in the future, I will not let you go." Tang Zheng's face was gloomy, he was definitely not joking. Chapter 210. Li Xiaotian felt Tang Zheng's determination and said with a smile, "Okay, don't worry, I will definitely protect the two of them. Show me your true ability and let me broaden my horizons." Sogu 360. Soso search JadeXS to download novels for free. This was her ultimate goal. Tang Zheng coldly harumphed, not caring about her little thoughts. He stepped forward and stood in front of them. Mu Hongyan stared at his back in a daze. He had saved the mother and daughter several times, but this time he was involved in the Long family's disturbance because of them. She couldn't help but feel ashamed and angry. Suddenly, she didn't know where she got the courage from, but she actually rushed in front of Tang Zheng and said loudly to the people in front of her, "No one is allowed to move. If you dare to move, you will definitely regret it. If you don't believe me, you can ask the old man. He knows the whole story." At this juncture, only by bringing out Long Shenyuan could they suppress these people. Otherwise, a great battle would be inevitable. As soon as she said this, everyone subconsciously stopped and looked at Madame Long. A trace of panic flashed through Long Tingyu's eyes, and he quickly said, "Don't listen to her nonsense, she is just stalling for time. Go, go." Madame Long finally chose to believe in her son and shouted, "Everyone, go." Bang! Everyone no longer hesitated and rushed towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng quickly pulled Mu Hongyan behind him and shouted, "Go!" Then, like a fierce tiger, he rushed into the crowd. Most of these people were warriors, most of them were in the body refinement stage, but there was a 5th-grade Hotian expert. This person was tall and strong, and he rushed forward like a bulldozer, crushing all obstacles. In an instant he passed everyone and faced Tang Jing directly. Tang Zheng's eyes narrowed. He had noticed this person just now, because he couldn't see through this big man's cultivation. This meant that the other party was definitely a master in the Hotian stage, and it was obvious that the two people just now couldn't compare to him. A powerful aura surged forth, as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him. Tang Zheng was completely enveloped by this aura. Tang Zheng had no way out, he could only press forward, because if he retreated, the people behind him would be exposed. Thus, with a sword cry, the War Soul sword suddenly slashed out. A biting cold sword edge attacked the other party. This person clearly did not expect Tang Zheng to use a weapon and reacted in a panic. Tang Zheng's war spirit drew a strange arc and left a deep wound on his opponent's arm. The opponent flew into a rage and threw a punch at Tang Zheng's head. Tang Zheng raised his sword to block the attack. The other party was afraid of harming the innocent, so his attack suddenly changed, and he blasted towards Tang Zheng's chest. The speed of this change was really shocking. However, Tang Zheng had a big fight with Xiao Xiaoling, who was an 8th grade Hotian master, not long ago. Therefore, even if he met such a master in the Hotian stage again, he was not afraid in terms of momentum. Tang Zheng's change was also very fast. The War Soul Sword brushed past the opponent's arm, making the opponent break out in a cold sweat. Even if it didn't cut, the opponent could deeply feel the extraordinariness of this black sword. "Hey boy, I'll let you taste the taste of my war hammer." Suddenly, the opponent roared and pulled out a war hammer from his waist. This war hammer had been inserted in his back waist. At this moment, seeing that he couldn't take down Tang Zheng, he had to use his weapon. The war hammer waved, and the air wave was like a rolling flood, surging towards Tang Zheng, suffocating him. Tang Zheng was aghast and hurriedly used the wind and cloud surging. The strong air wave made him unable to open his eyes. Bang! When the blade of the sword landed on the warhammer, a crack actually appeared on the warhammer. The big man's face turned pale. His warhammer was made of steel, but it was actually split open by the opponent's black sword. This meant that the opponent's black sword was definitely a divine weapon. Tang Zheng was also stunned for a moment. His confidence increased greatly. The War Soul Sword seemed to have changed a little compared to when he first got it. The yin qi was getting thicker and thicker, and the sharpness had also increased. With the divine weapon in hand, Tang Zheng was like a god helping him. He attacked the opponent again. When the others saw this, they didn't dare to get close. A few clever people bypassed him and rushed towards Mu Hongyan and the others. Li Xiaotian and Fang Shishir took the lead and stood at the front. When several enemies rushed up, the two of them attacked one after another. But the two's attack methods were completely different. Fang Shishir only learned magic and didn't learn martial arts. Thus, it was inconvenient for her to use magic. So, she used the body lock technique. When a person rushed over, she would point her finger at the person, and the person wouldn't be able to move, turning into a puppet. Although this was the body lock technique, it was disguised as the pressure point technique. Li Xiaotian's eyes lit up. The pressure point technique could only be done by a Hotian realm martial artist. Could it be that Fang Shishir was also a Hotian realm martial artist? At this time, Li Xiaotian was very curious about who taught Fang Shishir and Tang Zheng. They were actually Hotian realm martial artists in their teens. Fang Shishir's attack was clean and efficient. In a short while, 4 puppet-like people appeared in front of her. Nana clapped her hands. "Sister Shishir is so powerful. Do your best, turn them into puppets." The little girl wasn't afraid at all. Instead, she added fuel to the fire. Li Xiaotian's attack was completely different. She was like a butterfly, lightly dancing. Her dance was very beautiful, but the power of her attack was definitely not to be underestimated. The people who rushed over didn't even have time to scream before they fell to the ground, unconscious. "Quickly go!" Tang Zheng saw this scene and his confidence increased. He hurriedly urged. The few of them rushed towards the door. "No one is allowed to leave." Mrs. Long roared and ordered arrogantly. His other subordinates blocked the door like a swarm of bees, blocking their way. Seeing that, Tang Zheng was helpless, because he was already entangled by the big-sized man. The big-sized man was afraid of his War Soul Sword, so he used a roundabout strategy. The War Soul Sword was unable to hit him, so he was unable to escape. "Stop!" Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. It was like a sudden clap of thunder on the ground, shaking everyone's eardrums to the point of pain. A hale and hearty figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. If it wasn't the head of the Long family, Long Xinyuan, who else could it be? But at this moment, his gloomy face was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Everyone looked at him and subconsciously stopped. Tang Zheng hurriedly returned to Fang Shishir's side to protect them and looked at Long Xinyuan from afar. Li Xiaotian curled her lips in disappointment. She seemed to feel that it was a pity that this battle didn't continue. "Who can tell me what is going on?" Long Xuanyuan's low voice sounded. "Dad, Mu Hongyan colluded with this pretty boy to kill Wang Fuchuan. She even brought this pretty boy back to harm me. Do you see how badly he has hurt me?" Long Tingyu, the villain, complained first. He sucked in cold air and shouted at the top of his lungs. Long Xinyuan was furious. His son actually accused his sister-in-law of having an affair. Whether it was true or not, if this spread out, it would be a fatal blow to the Long family's reputation. Long Xinyuan valued his reputation the most, but Long Tingyu wanted to make it known to the whole world. This was simply stabbing Long Xuanyuan's heart with a knife. "Shut up!" Long Xinyuan shouted, as if he couldn't wait to kill him with his own hands. Long Tingyu looked at his father at a loss. He didn't know why his father was so angry at him, but he kept quiet out of fear and didn't dare to say more. "Hongyan, what do you think is going on?" Long Xinyuan looked at Mu Hongyan and asked. At this moment, Mu Hongyan's face and ears were red. She was ashamed and angry at the same time. "Dad, he is talking nonsense. He is slandering me. As soon as I walked out of the house, I heard that he wanted to take Tang Zheng away. He said that he was the murderer of Wang Fuchuan. This is slander. I tried to dissuade him, but he said those hurtful words." Mu Hongyan was so angry that she almost fainted. Long Xinyuan had figured out what was going on. He knew his son's character. If it was someone else, he might be suspicious. But Tang Zheng was a high school graduate who saved Nana. How could he have Mu Hongyan's Xiao by face? There was no doubt that all this was slander. Madame Long didn't know about this and quickly helped. "Master, don't listen to this woman's sophistry. I believe in Tingyu. He must expel this woman from the family. Otherwise, it will be a great insult to our Long family." Madame Long really lived up to the saying, "A loving mother makes a bad son." "Shut up, look at how you have spoiled your son. Where is the propriety?" Long Xinyuan asked. "I didn't do anything wrong. If I don't love him, who else will?" Madame Long said shamelessly. Long Xinyuan shook his head helplessly. As the saying goes, even an upright official can't solve a family dispute. Although he had profound skills and was in charge of a large family business, he couldn't help but feel powerless in this kind of matter. "Dad, I can't stay in this house anymore. I can't stand such slander. I will move out." Mu Hongyan said angrily. It was difficult for her to calm down. "Hongyan, why do you have to do this? I will teach this kid a lesson. I believe that he won't dare to do this again." Long Xinyuan persuaded. With his status, he could speak softly to his wife. It could be seen that Mu Hongyan was important in his heart. Mu Hongyan shook her head firmly. "No, I will live outside." Madame Long and Long Tingyu looked at each other and were secretly happy. Madame Long thought that she had driven away this scourge. Long Tingyu, on the other hand, thought that they would not be under the same roof in the future. Instead, he would have a chance to make a move. When the time came, he would create an opportunity to take advantage of her. "Well, since you can't wait to leave, Master, let her go. Our Long family will not force you. It's best if you don't come back in the future." Madame Long said impatiently. Mu Hongyan looked at her mother-in-law's face. Her heart was dead. All these years, she had suffered in front of her mother-in-law. What was she doing in this family? Why not leave? Could it be that if she left the Long family, she and Nana couldn't live? Absolutely not. She had to leave. Tang Zheng and the others didn't expect that in the end, they would play out such a drama. Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir felt guilty. If they didn't come to Dianan, this family wouldn't be in such a mess. Looking at Mu Hongyan's resolute expression, Long Xinyuan sighed. He was very clear that she was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. This time, Long Tingyu's words had touched her bottom line, which was why she was so resolute. "Hongyan, it's good for you to go out and live for a while. Come back after a while. As for this unfilial son, get back to your room. Within a week, you are not allowed to leave this house or I will break your legs." Long Xinyuan glared at Long Tingyu fiercely. He was so scared that he trembled and hurriedly hid behind Madame Long. Chapter 211. Seeing how her husband was threatening her son, Mrs. Long snorted in dissatisfaction and said, "Look at how injured he is and he still dares to be so fierce to him. Mu Hongyan can leave, but this brat must stay. He injured our son, and in our house, he must be severely punished as a warning to others." Yes, This brat is too arrogant. He dares to come to the Long family and behave atrociously. Father, you must uphold justice for me. Long Tingyu begged, looking at Tang Zheng with eyes full of hatred. Long Xianyuan looked at Tang Zheng, then looked at Nana, gritted his teeth and said, Tang Zheng has done good to the Long family, but you bastard actually dared to harm him. Where is the reputation of the Long family? The mother and son were shocked. How could this Xiao Bai have done good to the Long family? It was simply a bunch of nonsense, but no one dared to question the words that came out of Long Xuanyuan's mouth. What did he do to the Long family? Mrs. Long could not help but ask. Long Xianyuan glanced at Li Xiaotian. He had promised Tang Zheng that he would not tell a third party about this matter, so he resolutely said, You don't need to know about this matter. Take your son away for treatment, otherwise do you really want him to become a cripple? Mrs. Long looked at her son's miserable appearance with a broken hand, and finally said with heartache, All right, then I'll let him go this time, brat. Next time don't fall into my hands, otherwise I'll make you beg for death. Tang Zheng snorted. He was not afraid at all. Long Xianyuan looked at him with shame and said, Tang Zheng, I'm sorry, this time I let you see a joke. Fortunately you are not injured. Seeing that Long Xianyuan was reasonable, Tang Zheng did not bicker with him, and nodded, indicating that he was not seriously injured. You can continue to stay here. I guarantee that no one will disturb you. Long Xianyuan promised. Tang Zheng looked at Mu Hongyan and said, No need, we will go to a hotel. Long Xianyuan said embarrassedly, Why bother? Tang Zheng waved his hand and said, Master Long, there's no need to persuade me anymore. I'm really sorry for disturbing you today. We'll take our leave first. Wait, Tang Zheng. Mu Hongyan suddenly cried, I asked you to come to Dianan to play. I haven't done my duty as the host. How can I let you stay in a hotel? Dad, I still have an empty room. I'll bring them to my place. Obviously, Mu Hongyan definitely had more than one residence in the Long family's huge mansion in Dianan, so she was determined to move out. Long Xianyuan hesitated for a moment and nodded helplessly. All right, then Hongyan, you treat them well and thank them for everything they have done for the Long family. I know. Mu Hongyan nodded solemnly. Nana, Grandpa will visit you in the future. Remember to listen to your mother, okay? Long Xianyuan hugged Nana and said intimately. At this moment he finally showed his kind side. Obviously he was very close to Nana. Nana rubbed her pink face against her grandfather's face and said in a childish voice, Grandpa, don't worry, Nana will definitely listen to Mother, and with Brother Godly Doctor accompanying me, Nana will be very obedient. Long Xianyuan looked at Tang Zheng and smiled kindly. Nana is so obedient. Li Xiaotian looked at this scene thoughtfully. The relationship between Tang Zheng and the Long family was really complicated. Tang Zheng actually helped the Long family. What exactly was this kindness? Hey, it's getting more and more interesting. Tang Zheng, if I don't know everything about you, I won't give up. Miss Li, you can stay in the Long family. The Long family will definitely treat you well. Long Xianyuan said to Li Xiaotian. Li Xiaoyan smiled and shook her head. No, I will go with them. Madam Long, I wonder if you welcome me? Mu Hongyan looked at Li Xiaotian in surprise and said, Miss Li Xiaoyan's identity is noble, it's best for you to stay in the Long family. Li Xiaotian glanced at Tang Zheng and shook her head. If I stay here, I don't know anyone. It's better to go with you. Tang Zheng coldly glared at Li Xiaoyan. This woman was like a ghost that refused to disperse. She was too shameless. Old Master Long, I won't disturb you, but I can be sure of one thing. Tang Zheng really has nothing to do with Wang Fuchuan's death. You can go find the cold-faced killer Xiao Xiaoling and ask him who did it. Li Xiaotian betrayed Xiao Xiaoling in the blink of an eye. At that time, she promised not to tell anyone. She didn't expect that she would go back on her word in less than a day. This woman's words really couldn't be trusted at all. Immediately, Tang Zheng was even more vigilant against her, but fortunately she told the truth and completely cleared the suspicion of Tang Zheng. Long Xianyuan frowned and said, He actually did it. Thank you for telling me, Miss Li. I will go find him and investigate clearly. He dared to kill the people of the Long family. He ate the leopard's guts. While speaking, an imposing aura suddenly burst out, making people's heart palpitate. Dad, Wang Fuchuan's death may be related to the recent incident. Mu Hongyan reminded, then looked at Tang Zheng and the other two, and didn't say much. I understand. Long Xianyuan didn't want to be entangled in this topic. Mu Hongyan and the others left the Long family by car. Two pairs of resentful eyes watched their car disappear in the vast traffic. Not long after, they arrived at their new residence, a small lakeside villa next to a park. Although it was not as magnificent as the Long family, there were trees and water, fresh air, and pleasant scenery. Mu Hongyan introduced, this house was where Nana's father and I lived. Since his death, I only came here occasionally for a period of time. But Luma has been staying here, so we can live here at any time. While speaking, Luma had already come out to greet them. She was very happy to know that the mistress was coming back to live. When she saw Tang Zheng, she couldn't hide her surprise. She had seen Tang Zheng several times when she was in ordinary balance. She didn't understand Tang Zheng's identity, but she knew how important Tang Zheng was to Mu Hongyan. She didn't know why he came to Dianan again. Let's go, I'll arrange a room for you. Mu Hongyan took the initiative to say. Her face was a little more calm and relaxed than before, and she led them to arrange a room. Fang Shishir was embarrassed to stay in the same room with Tang Zheng in public, so the three of them arranged 3 rooms. After lunch, Mu Hongyan personally took them to the most prosperous high-end shopping mall. Because their luggage was left on the train, they had to buy all their daily necessities and clothes again. Tang Zheng rarely went shopping. It was the first time in his life to accompany 3 beautiful women with different styles and a little girl like a porcelain doll to go shopping. When they got off the train, there was no doubt that they attracted almost everyone's attention, regardless of men, women, old, or young. Tang Zheng stood in the middle, with Fang Shishir holding his arm, like a green leaf among thousands of flowers, and also received countless gazes. Please recommend. Chapter 212. Even though Tang Zheng's face was thick enough, when he saw the dazzling array of women's underwear, he still couldn't help but blush a little. Welcome, please feel free to choose whatever you need. The salesperson warmly welcomed them, her eyes resting on Fang Shishir's face as she said in her heart, what a beautiful girl. The two of them wanted to retreat, but it was too late, and Mu Hongyan and the other 2 were also following them, so they could only brace themselves and move forward. In an instant, the underwear store seemed to have added a dazzling luster. These 3 beauties with different styles were really dazzling. Nana excitedly clapped her hands and said, these clothes are so beautiful, Nana also wants them. Mu Hongyan hurriedly stopped Nana, faintly smiling, infinitely flirtatious. Many of the men who accompanied their wives to the underwear store were originally dizzy and incomparably embarrassed. When they heard this, they all raised their heads, their eyes shining as if they had been injected with chicken blood as they stared at these people. Great beauties and 3 great beauties, it was too good for the eyes. Since they were already here, they might as well make the best of it. If they turned around now, they would definitely be ridiculed by Li Xiaotian, so Tang Zheng pretended to be calm and said, sure, you go and choose. Fang Shishir's charming face was slightly red. Although she and Tang Zheng already had skin-to-skin contact, it was still difficult to hide her shyness in front of so many people to choose underwear. Mu Hongyan smiled as she looked at the couple, held Nana's hand, and naturally started to choose. Li Xiaotian's reaction was the biggest. It was her first time in the underwear store, just like Granny Lu entering the Grand View Garden. Looking at these beautiful underwear, she wasn't shy. Instead, she was like a flower butterfly, shuttling back and forth, exclaiming from time to time, wow, this is so beautiful, it would definitely look good in it. And this is also not bad. After a while, she took out several bras and placed them in front of her chest, then said to Tang Zheng, handsome Tang, which one do you think looks good on me? Pooh. Tang Zheng almost had a nosebleed, why are you asking me? Besides, it's really tempting to hold a bra in front of your chest like that, you know? Several men nearby were already staring blankly, causing their girlfriends to fly into a rage. Li Xiaotian, the culprit, acted as if he didn't see it. He pursed his lips and snickered. He walked straight to Tang Zheng and asked, what do you think? Say something? Tang Zheng glanced at Fang Shishir's face, which was gradually turning hostile. He quickly turned his head away and ignored her. This woman was too vicious. She was constantly trying to sow discord. Coincidentally, Fang Shishir also chose a bra. She dragged Tang Zheng into a fitting room and said, "Come in with me to try it on." She looked at Li Xiaotian provocatively. When the others saw Tang Zheng being dragged into the fitting room, they were jealous. It was too tempting and happy to accompany such a beautiful woman to try on underwear. In the narrow fitting room, Tang Zheng and Fang Shishir looked at each other. Fang Shishir pulled him in purely to fight back against Li Xiaotian's provocation, but after they came in, they couldn't help but feel shy. She pulled Tang Zheng to try on underwear in front of everyone. What would others think? What would they think of her? Tang Zheng didn't notice her embarrassment and urged a little impatiently, "Hurry up and take off your clothes. If you don't take them off, how can you try them on?" Fang Shishir glanced at him and whispered, "You'd better go out. It's embarrassing." Tang Zheng smiled and said, "You pulled me in and then asked me to go out. How can I do that? Besides, it's not like I haven't seen it before." As he spoke, his eyes stared straight at her full breasts. Fang Shishir was too ashamed to show her face. She quickly covered his mouth with her hand and said, "Don't say it. Don't say it. It's so embarrassing." "Well, then I won't say it. I'll just look. If you keep dawdling, others will think that we are doing something inside. I'm afraid the salespeople will knock on the door." Tang Zheng smiled evilly. Looking at him like this, Fang Shishir knew that he was up to no good. She couldn't help but glare at him fiercely and helplessly began to take off her clothes. "Do you need my help? I am very willing to help others." Tang Zheng volunteered his services. "No, I'll do it myself. You're not allowed to touch me." Fang Shishir's eyes were almost dripping water. Her body was particularly sensitive. As long as Tang Zheng touched her, it would be difficult for her to maintain her inner firmness. If he did something inside, then how would she face Mu Hongyan and the others in the future? Fang Shishir took off her shirt. She was wearing a t-shirt. After taking it off, her full breasts and flat stomach were exposed. "Don't look." Seeing that Tang Zheng's eyes were about to sink into the snow-white gap, Fang Shishir quickly hugged her chest. She was hugging the pipa and covering half of her face. She was even more charming and seductive. Tang Zheng's nose almost bled. Although he had seen this pair of treasures before, he had never seen it in this kind of situation. There was no doubt that there were many people outside staring at the fitting room, guessing what kind of charming thing was happening inside. It was equivalent to the two people doing these things in broad daylight under the watchful eyes of many people. The excitement was incomparable. Feeling his burning gaze of aggression, Fang Shishir's breathing involuntarily quickened. She muttered, "Don't look at me like that. I'll be embarrassed." At this time, how could he not look and not look? Tang Zheng not only looked, but also wanted to make a move. "What are you doing? There are people outside. What if they hear us?" "I'm taking off your clothes. I'm not doing anything else," Tang Zheng said seriously. But no matter how you listened, it sounded like a lie. Fang Shishir was helpless and could only let him do whatever he wanted. With a snap sound, the bra button was skillfully unbuttoned by Tang Zheng. Fang Shishir quickly hugged her chest and said in a mosquito-like voice, "I'll do it myself." "It's okay. I'm very helpful." Tang Zheng reached out his hands, grabbed the bra from behind, and slowly pulled it off. The pair of full breasts fell into Tang Zheng's demonic hands. Fang Shishir let out a cry of surprise and hurriedly covered her mouth, afraid that the people outside would hear. In this way, Tang Zheng completely controlled the pair of treasures. Fang Shishir's body went soft like water and was about to melt. She breathed out like orchids and weakly begged for mercy, "Tang Zheng, stop messing around. Otherwise, others will hear." Tang Zheng blew a breath in her ear and said, "Who told you to stay alone when we were assigned rooms today? Didn't we agree that the two of us would live together?" Fang Shishir blushed and was incomparably shy. "It's not good to let Sister Mu see us staying in the same room." Tang Zheng said indifferently, "We're boyfriend and girlfriend. What's wrong with staying in the same room? Moreover, you pulled me in this time. Don't tell me she still doesn't know how far our relationship has progressed?" Fang Shishir was shocked. She only cared about Li Xiaotian and did not think of this. Promise me that you'll open the door for me tonight. Otherwise, I won't let go. Tang Jing threatened naughtily. You're bullying people. Yes, I'm bullying you. But Fang Shishir said coquettishly. Really? I think I'm pretty good. Tang Jing tightened his grip and Fang Shishir let out a suppressed cry of surprise from her throat. She quickly begged for mercy. Okay, I promise you. Stop messing around, okay? Seeing her delicate and pitiful appearance, if it weren't for the fact that they were in front of everyone, he really wanted to do her. He let go of his hand and said, I said I would help. Of course, I will do as I say. Tang Jing no longer teased her and properly put on a bra for her. Fang Shishir supported herself against the wall, otherwise she would have fallen down. Tang Jing teased her until her entire body was sore and weak. How does it feel? Tang Jing considerately asked. Fang Shishir nodded and urged, It's okay. Let's quickly go out. Otherwise, others will think we're doing something inside. Tang Jing laughed. Let them think. It's none of our business anyway. Really, stop messing around. Okay, I'll help you put on your own bra. Tang Jing was very honest this time. He put on the bra and then helped her put on the t-shirt. Fang Shishir was tightly wrapped. Only then did she relax. She patted her chest and fiercely glared at Tang Jing and said, You big bad guy. As she said this, she grabbed Tang Jing's waist. Tang Jing hurriedly said, If you dare to grab, I dare to scream. What do you think people outside will think we're doing? Fang Shishir's movement stiffened. She helplessly stopped and said, I'll deal with you tonight. I'll be the one to deal with you tonight. Tang Jing shrugged, not afraid in the slightest. With a kacha sound, the door to the fitting room opened. The two walked out. Tang Jing acted as if nothing had happened. His face was calm. Fang Shishir was not as thick-skinned as him. Her face was as red as a peach blossom, causing people to have wild and fanciful thoughts. Many men stared at Tang Jing with red eyes. This beast, he actually did something bad in the fitting room. That feeling must be very ecstatic. Li Xiaoyan walked over and casually said, Excuse me. You've been in there for so long. I don't know what bad things you've done. When Fang Shishir heard this, she was so ashamed that she wanted to crawl into a hole. Tang Jing was not afraid in the slightest and said, Yo, you're jealous, right? So sour. Do you want me to accompany you in? If you want to accompany me, just say it. I'm a very helpful person. Let's go. Let's go in. Li Xiaotian's charming face turned red. She was a virgin and would occasionally be a bit valiant in this aspect. However, she was not as thick-skinned as Tang Jing. She reprimanded, Scram. Then she ran back into the fitting room. Tang Jing was like a victorious soldier. Little guy, you want to fight with me? I'm a man. Do you think I'm afraid of you? When the other men saw him openly flirt with other beauties in front of his girlfriend, they really admired him. Unlike them, when they looked at other beauties, their girlfriends would glare at them coldly. Mu Hongyan frowned and looked at Tang Jing. After hesitating for a moment, she said, Tang Jing, Li Xiaotian's identity is not ordinary. You should try not to have too big of a conflict with her. Tang Jing was shocked and said, How big is Li Palace's strength? How much influence does it have on the outside world? Mu Hongyan originally thought that Tang Jing understood Li Palace very well. However, she did not know that he was completely blind. She hurriedly said, One palace, one sect, and one hall are the three most mysterious places in the world. Li Palace is the place that outsiders are most familiar with. This is because Li Palace's ability to gather information is the most comprehensive in the world. Correspondingly, it has the most contact with the outside world. Chapter 213. Tang Jing could not help but have a new understanding of the Li Palace, and hurriedly asked, Where is the Li Palace? Since the Li Palace was the place that collected the most comprehensive information, then maybe they knew where the cultivators went, or where the conflict between the martial artists and the cultivators came from. Pose Mu Hongyan shook her head. Since it is a mysterious place, then of course the average person would not know where it is. If you want to know, then it is best to ask her directly. Mu Hongyan pointed at Li Xiaotian, who walked out. Tang Jing bitterly smiled. Prying open Li Xiaotian's mouth was easier said than done. What are you saying about me? Li Xiaotian frowned and asked. Tang Jing glanced at the bra in her hand and said, we are saying that with your airport shape, do you still need to wear this thing? Li Xiaoan was furious. You are the airport shape. Tang Jing shrugged. I am an airport shape. It is normal for a man to be an airport shape, but for a woman it is not normal. How am I an airport shape? My chest is so big, wearing this is just right. Li Xiaotian argued. Is it big? How come I don't see it, if you have the guts to take it off and prove it? Tang Jing provoked. Since Li Xiaoan was always like a ghost, then why not just make her angry and leave? Li Xiaotian fiercely glared at Tang Jing, then suddenly had an idea and said, I already said that men are not good things. On the train you took advantage of me, and now you want to see my chest. When these words came out, the surrounding women all glared at him. This guy was too shameless. He had already taken advantage of her, and now he made such a vulgar request. The men wanted to beat their feet and beat their chests. How could this brat be so lucky? Not only did he have a beautiful girlfriend, but he could also casually take advantage of other beauties. Tang Jing was greatly embarrassed. This woman really dared to say anything. Fang Shishir blushed, and pulled Tang Jing to the cashier to pay. Li Xiaotian immediately followed, put the bra on the cashier, and said without any trace of politeness, pay for me too. Tang Jing rolled his eyes. Why should I pay for you? I said that I am penniless. If not you, who will pay? Li Xiaotian retorted. Who wants to pay? I will not pay. I have known you for less than a day, and haven't you harmed me enough? How can I pay you? No way. Stingy, how can a man be so stingy? Who said that men can't be stingy? Seeing the two of them arguing, many men said in their hearts, I will pay for it, to buy a bra for a beautiful woman. What a great blessing this is. Mu Hongyan came over with a smile, shook her head and said, you two don't quarrel, you are my guests, of course I will pay. How can I let you pay when you come to Dianan? Then she handed over a bank card to settle the bill. Then they went to buy other clothes and daily necessities. Tang Jing and Li Xiaotian were still tit-for-tat, sparks flying everywhere. Finally, it was not easy to return home and stop. As night fell, the small villa near the water was particularly quiet, and people's hearts could not help but settle down. Tang Jing lay in bed for a long time, guessing that the others should be asleep, and then he tiptoed out of bed, opened the door, and walked to Fang Shishir's room. When he passed by Mu Hongyan's room, he couldn't help but stop because he heard a burst of stifled sobbing coming from her room. If it wasn't for his amazing hearing and coincidentally passing by the door, he wouldn't have heard the sobbing at all. His heart trembled. Could it be that something had happened to Mu Hongyan? Otherwise, why was she so sad? He didn't intend to meddle in other people's business, but thinking about her careful care today, he still couldn't bear it and decided to find out. Knock knock. He knocked on the door. The crying stopped abruptly. Who is it? It's me. With a creak, the door opened. Mu Hongyan looked at Tang Jing with red eyes and forced a smile. What's the matter? Tang Jing asked with concern. Did something happen? I heard you crying. Mu Hongyan said awkwardly, it's nothing. Tang Jing moved and asked, is it because of what happened to Long Tingyu during the day? Mu Hongyan let out a long sigh and said faintly, it's all in the past. Tang Jing couldn't help but be a little angry. Long Tingyu didn't hide his mouth and wantonly slandered others. Don't be sad. It's not worth it to be sad over the words of such a person. I know, Tang Jing. Thank you. You should rest early. Mu Hongyan's mood was still not high. Tang Jing looked left and right, but there was no trace of Li Xiaotian. This woman had been following him like a tail, so he didn't have time to talk to Mu Hongyan alone. Why not take this opportunity to ask her about her husband? I have something to talk to you about. Is it convenient? Tang Jing asked. Mu Hongyan was startled for a moment, then nodded, then come in. The two of them entered the room and saw Mu Hongyan wearing a silk nightgown. The scenery inside was faintly discernible and extremely alluring. Tang Jing immediately abandoned all distracting thoughts, but his gaze was involuntarily attracted by a piece of writing. Under the heavens. These 2 words were exactly the same as the 2 words he saw in Mu Hongyan's room when he was in ordinary balance. Moreover, they were also hung on the bed. Lying on the bed, he could see it at a glance. That kind of magnificent aura still hit him in the face. Mu Hongyan followed his gaze and said, "When I came back from ordinary balance, I also brought it back." Tang Jing nodded and went straight to the point. "Actually, this time I came to Dianan. In addition to sightseeing, there is another matter." Mu Hongyan quietly listened and motioned for him to continue. "The culprit who hurt Nana that year has been found by me," Tang Jing said in an earth-shattering manner. This sentence caused Mu Hongyan's expression to change greatly. She couldn't help but stand up and impatiently ask, "Where is the murderer?" Tang Jing lightly said, "I have already killed him." "Who is he?" "Daoist Tianji." Tang Jing told the truth. He stared straight at Mu Hongyan, wanting to see if there was any change in her hearing this name. Mu Hongyan was at a loss. It was obvious that she had never heard of this name before. Sure enough, she asked doubtfully, "Who is this person? Why did he want to harm Nana?" Tang Jing did not directly answer. Instead, he asked, "I'll take the liberty to ask a question. How much do you know about your husband?" Mu Hongyan's expression fluctuated as she said, "I know him very well." "Oh, then is he a martial artist?" Mu Hongyan shook her head. "No. Long Tingyu is a martial artist of the 8th grade refining body. Moreover, your father-in-law is a top-notch expert. Why is your husband not a martial artist?" Tang Jing asked curiously. Mu Hongyan's expression had a trace of vigilance. She looked at Tang Jing and lightly said, "I am not a martial artist. I don't understand these things." She was lying, Tang Jing asserted. Although her lying ability was very high and there were almost no obvious flaws, Tang Jing still concluded that she was lying. Tang Jing smiled faintly and said, "Then let me change the question. How did your husband die?" Mu Hongyan's eyes flashed with a trace of pain and said, "He was killed." "Have you caught the murderer?" Mu Hongyan shook her head. "The murderer is too cunning. There have been no clues." "Then if I say that the murderer is the one who hurt Nana, would you believe me?" "What? It's the same person." Mu Hongyan was shocked. "Why did he kill my husband and hurt Nana?" "If you don't tell the truth, I'm afraid I won't be able to tell you the reason." Mu Hongyan's gaze turned cold as she stared fixedly at Tang Jing. From the beginning, she could not see through Tang Jing. Although she was greatly indebted to Tang Jing, this conversation still made her somewhat vigilant. "Tang Jing, I don't quite understand what you mean. Your husband was not a martial artist, but his strength was not inferior to a martial artist. I don't know if I'm right?" Mu Hongyan's eyebrows jumped. Her eyes flashed with unconcealable surprise and horror. Then she quickly looked away and said, "Tang Jing, I don't know what you mean by that. I've already said it so clearly. Do you still want to hide it?" Mu Hongyan bit her lip and hesitated for a long time before saying, "Tang Jing, I am very grateful that you saved Nana and even killed the murderer. No matter what, I can't repay your kindness. But your words still make me very confused. I don't know how to answer you." Tang Jing secretly sighed. It seemed that her vigilance was not ordinary. Since it was like this, then he could only use a strong medicine. The murderer is the same kind of person as your husband. He killed him in order to steal the treasure in his hands. Tang Jing threw out a heavy bomb. Mu Hongyan's eyes instantly widened. Her legs went soft and she actually fell into a chair. "How is that possible?" Tang Jing looked at her with a smile that was not a smile. These words finally caused her to have a violent reaction. It seemed that she was very clear that her husband was a cultivator and that cultivators were different in this world. Therefore she was so careful. Even if Tang Jing was her benefactor, she did not dare to speak carelessly. "Anything is possible. It seems that you also know about your husband. This group of people killed him for the treasure, but did not obtain the treasure. So in order to vent their anger, they burned Nana. Why are they so ruthless? We have no enmity with him. Why would he do this to our family?" Mu Hongyan bitterly muttered to herself. "This person is deranged. To him, killing is a trivial matter." Tang Jing lightly said. Mu Hongyan suddenly raised her head and asked, "How do you know these things?" "Of course it was the murderer who told me before he died. But you can rest assured that I have no enmity towards you. Otherwise, I would not have saved Nana. Moreover, I also like Nana very much." Mu Hongyan became more and more vigilant towards Tang Zheng. After all, this matter was very important. Even if Tang Zheng was her benefactor, she did not dare completely trust him. From her eyes, Tang Zheng could already read her thoughts. But he did not care. If it was anyone else, they would have the same reaction as her. "Your husband is a cultivator. Who else knows this secret?" "Cultivator." Mu Hongyan's lips trembled. It had been many years since she heard these two words. These two words were like a nightmare. Because of this identity, her happiness had turned into nothing. Chapter 214. Mu Hongyan looked at Tang Zheng in horror. The word, cultivator, was like a bolt from the blue, causing her brain to temporarily forget to think. After a long time, she recovered and asked, "How do you know about cultivators? What is your identity?" Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Neither too fast nor too slow. You don't need to be nervous. You have seen my family's situation, so you should know what my identity is. Naturally, I am not your enemy. It's just that I happen to know about cultivators. No wonder you are so vigilant. After all, cultivators are different in the eyes of others." Mu Hongyan recalled the process of meeting Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng really did not have any bad intentions towards her. Instead, he selflessly helped her. It seems that she was too cautious. "Tang Zheng, I'm sorry, my reaction was too extreme, but this matter is of great importance. I have no choice but to be cautious." Mu Hongyan finally eased her tone and said. Tang Zheng nodded to express his understanding. "But how do you know about cultivators? You are a martial artist, don't you see cultivators as your mortal enemy?" Mu Hongyan asked doubtfully. "Mortal enemy?" Tang Zheng snorted. "In this world, there are many martial artists who do not even know about the existence of cultivators. What mortal enemy is there? Moreover, cultivators do not threaten martial artists. Is there a need to be so antagonistic, like fire and water?" Degrees Celsius is all equal to. Mu Hongyan was stunned. She did not expect Tang Zheng to say such rebellious words. "As for how I know about cultivators? If I tell you the truth, can you promise me that you will not reveal it to others?" Tang Zheng's face became serious. If he wanted to obtain the magic weapon left by her husband, he must gain the other party's trust, and revealing his identity as a cultivator was undoubtedly a good method. Moreover, her husband was a cultivator. She should be able to accept Tang Zheng's identity. Mu Hongyan also became serious. Seriously looking at Tang Zheng, she promised, "If you believe me, I will naturally keep your secret." "Of course I believe you." The corners of Tang Zheng's mouth curled up. "Actually, I'm the same as your husband. I'm also a cultivator." "What? You're also a cultivator?" Even though Mu Hongyan had been through countless big scenes and had long developed a character that remained indifferent, when she heard this sentence, she still couldn't stop her heart from pounding. Her mind spun quickly, and many of her previous doubts were easily solved. No wonder Tang Zheng was so unfathomable at such a young age. He was actually a cultivator. The most important thing was the miraculous life-prolonging pill. Even the king of medicine did not know how to make it, but Tang Zheng easily took out 2 of them. All this could only be explained by the identity of a cultivator. Tang Zheng nodded affirmatively. "Now you know that I mean you no harm, right? I am also an anomaly in the eyes of others." Mu Hongyan indignantly said, "This is all prejudice. We're all human. Why should cultivators be discriminated against just because they're different?" Tang Zheng secretly rejoiced. It seems that because of her husband being ostracized, she had a strong sense of identification with him. "Thank you for saying this, but in this world there are too many people who hold prejudice, so I have no choice but to carefully hide my identity." Mu Hongyan's expression darkened as she recalled a distant memory. She muttered to herself, "In the past he was also as careful as you. He didn't want others to find out. Even his father didn't know, but he told me because we trusted each other. Others thought that he was a cripple who didn't know any martial arts, but I knew that his heart was higher than the heavens." Mu Hongyan said as she looked at the words on the wall. He became a cultivator by chance. When others laughed at him, he silently cultivated. He believed that one day he would be able to soar into the sky and let everyone who looked down on him see how powerful he was. Mu Hongyan was completely immersed in her memories. Tang Jing didn't disturb her and only quietly listened. But all of this changed after he found a magic treasure. I don't know what kind of magic treasure he found, but before he could share this joy with me, he was killed. Was the person who killed him also a cultivator? Yes, a pair of master and disciple coveted his magic treasure. They killed him and stole it, but in the end they didn't succeed, so they found you and your mother to vent their anger. Too despicable and shameless. That's right, before you left ordinary balance, the person who attacked you and your mother was that disciple. It's him. Mu Hongyan still remembered that she was kidnapped, and it was also thanks to Tang Jing that she was saved. Later his master Taoist Tianji found out that his disciple had died in ordinary balance and hurried over to find me. I spent a lot of effort to get rid of him. Mu Hongyan's expression finally changed. She gratefully said, Tang Jing, you helped us get revenge. I don't know how to repay you. Tang Jing smiled. Nana and I are fated. Besides, your husband is also a cultivator. This is also a kind of fate. Avenging him can be considered a good thing. Then you said that there was another purpose in coming to Dianan. What is it? Magic treasure. The whereabouts of the magic treasure your husband got is unknown, so I want to find it. Tang Jing said frankly. Magic treasure again. Mu Hongyan raised her eyebrows. Her husband died because of the magic treasure. She didn't expect that Tang Jing would come because of the magic treasure again. I'll tell you the truth. My cultivation is not very high, so I need this magic treasure. In exchange, you can make any request. I will do my best to fulfill it. Everyone was familiar with each other. Tang Jing obviously couldn't rob her. Mu Hongyan shook her head. I already said it. He didn't have time to tell me what magic treasure it was, and he didn't even tell me where the magic treasure was before he met with an accident. Mu Hongyan's eyes were firm. She didn't lie. Tang Jing couldn't help but feel gloomy. Could it be that this time he had to return empty-handed? The mysterious level magic treasure was very important to Tang Jing. Then did he leave any clues? Tang Jing didn't give up and asked. Mu Hongyan thought for a moment and said uncertainly, I don't know about this. In the past he liked to lock himself in the training room. If he left a clue, maybe it's in the training room. Tang Jing's head rekindled with hope. He said, then can you take me to the training room to take a look? Mu Hongyan didn't rush to answer. Instead she said, Tang Jing, you saved me and Nana many times. If you find this magic treasure, it wouldn't be too much to give it to you. But I still have a presumptuous request. Tang Jing didn't want to reap without sowing, so he didn't feel disgusted. He said, please speak. Nana is still young. I want her to inherit her father's will and become a cultivator in the future. Mu Hongyan said firmly. Tang Jing was shocked when he heard this. Cultivators are different in other people's eyes. Their future path is destined to not be smooth. Why do you want her to walk this path? Her grandfather is a top expert. If she learns martial arts from him, she will definitely have great achievements in the future. Mu Hongyan didn't waver. She said, no, she is her father's daughter. Inheriting her father's will is her responsibility. So what if she is different? She can also shine. Tang Jing couldn't help but be infected by her tone. This woman wasn't a cultivator, but she had this kind of courage. It was really rare. Okay, I promise you. Whether or not I can find the magic treasure, I will let Nana become a cultivator. Moreover, when I healed Nana, she already had a trace of power in her body. In the future, her cultivation will be twice the result with half the effort. This was a blessing in disguise for Nana. Although she had suffered for so many years, ever since Tang Jing broke the curse technique, she had a trace of power in her body. Maybe it was predestined. The little girl's path had already been arranged. She was destined to become a cultivator, just like her father. Mu Hongyan's expression became excited. Thank you, Tang Jing. Let's go to the training room. Walking out of the room, he found that there was another person in the corridor, Li Xiaoyun. Li Xiaotian turned his head and saw that Tang Jing and Mu Hongyan had actually walked out of the room together. Furthermore, both of them were wearing pajamas. He couldn't help but be dumbstruck. He was even more surprised than if he had seen a ghost. She pointed at the two of them. You're actually together. In the middle of the night, a single man and a single woman were in the same room. It was too confusing. Could it be that what Long Tingyu said was true, that the two of them really had an affair? Tang Zheng was too much of a beast, he didn't even let the young woman go. But that's right. This young woman is too tempting. Ordinary men would find it hard to resist her charm. Mu Hongyan saw that he had been misunderstood and was extremely embarrassed. Just as he was about to explain, he saw Li Xiaotian quickly return to his room. However, he didn't forget to glare at Tang Zheng and open his mouth. Tang Zheng recognized that she had scolded him with the word, beast. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. This woman was really meddling in other people's business. I didn't do anything, so what right do you have to scold me? Scold me for being a beast. Be careful that I don't do anything to you someday. Mu Hongyan said awkwardly, she must have misunderstood. I'll explain it to her tomorrow. Tang Zheng said indifferently, there's no need to pay attention to her. The more you explain, the more she feels that we are guilty. In any case, this has nothing to do with her. She can't care about it. Mu Hongyan chuckled. You have a lot of conflict with her. Tang Zheng took the opportunity to explain what had happened on the train. Tell me, is there a need for me to give her a good face when she casually framing a good person? The people of Li Palace have always been proud and arrogant. This is their style of doing things. Mu Hongyan explained. Tang Jing shook his head. I don't care what style they are. She better not provoke me. Otherwise, I don't care if she is Li Palace's martial sect. I will take care of her. Li Xiaotian and Tang Jing were about the same age. Tang Jing had seen her fight before. Although he couldn't see what cultivation level she was at, he was confident that even if the two of them fell out, he would still have a way to protect himself. Therefore, he wasn't afraid of her. Mu Hongyan had a whole new level of respect for him. Who knows how many people in this world are afraid of Li Palace, but you are not afraid at all. You really are young and promising. As they spoke, the two of them had already arrived at the training room. This training room was in the basement. Above them was a large piece of transparent glass. On top of it, there was a ripple of light. The basement was actually at the bottom of the lake. It must have taken a lot of effort to build it. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that cultivating at the bottom of the lake could not only hide his identity, but he could also continuously absorb spiritual energy from the lake. It was killing two birds with one stone. Chapter 215. The practice room was not big and the light shone on the transparent glass, making the water ripple, giving off a mysterious and tranquil beauty. Sogu, 360, so. Tang Zheng began to search, but the room did not have any cabinets or other places to store things. It was simply empty. Seeing that he had already searched twice but still found nothing, Mu Hongyan said, ever since my husband passed away, I have rarely come to this room, but I have not touched a single brick or piece of wood in here. Tang Zheng stopped and lowered his head in contemplation. Magic treasures were very important things, so of course they would not be placed in an open place. He suspected that the heavenly secret Taoist had also secretly infiltrated this home and searched everywhere, so naturally he would not have let go of this practice room. But the other side was like him, not finding anything, which meant that magic treasures were not easy to find. Could it be that the magic treasures are in other places? Tang Zheng was puzzled and asked, does he have other places that he often stays in? Mu Hongyan shook her head. He spends most of his time cultivating in the practice room. That's strange, I've already searched twice and did not miss a single detail, so why haven't I found a single clue? Tang Zheng shook his head in puzzlement. Could it be that he hid the magic treasures in other places? Or could it be that I am not fated to find this magic treasure? Tang Zheng could not help but feel a little discouraged. If he continued to search like this, there would be no need for him to do so. Even if it was daybreak, it would only make Li Xiaotian suspicious. He shook his head in disappointment and no longer searched, leaving the practice room with Mu Hongyan. Tang Zheng, I'm sorry, but I really do not have any other useful information to provide. Mu Hongyan said in shame. Tang Zheng casually said, magic treasures are something that can only be found by chance. Don't worry, I will still teach Nana techniques, but with Li Xiaotian here, I'm afraid she will find out. So when Nana grows up a bit, I will personally teach her the method of cultivation. Mu Hongyan smiled in relief. Thank you. After the two of them separated, Tang Zheng quietly sneaked into Fang Shishi's room. Tang Zheng truthfully told her about his conversation with Mu Hongyan. Fang Shishi advised him not to worry about it. Then, after a round of passionate lovemaking, she soothed his soul and fell into a deep sleep. In the next few days, they were not idle. Under the leadership of Mu Hongyan, they toured the mountains and rivers of southern Yunnan. The scenery in Dianan was indeed beautiful. It preserved the most natural scenery, which made Tang Zheng and Fang Shishi, two people who had lived in the city since childhood, very happy. Tang Zheng also temporarily put aside the disappointment of not finding a magic treasure and immersed himself in the mountains and rivers. He found a clue. The spiritual energy in the mountains and rivers was obviously much richer than in the city, even more abundant than in the ordinary Balance Mountain. If it weren't for Li Xiaotian watching from the side, he planned to use the spirit-gathering pill to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the mountains and quietly cultivate for a period of time. Today, they drove to the highest and most dangerous fairy peak in southern Yunnan. It was said that in ancient times, fairies descended to this place, which was how the mountain got its name. The fairy peak was steep, and there was only one winding road up the mountain. Tourists were weaving, but most of them were using vehicles. There were only a few people who hiked up the mountain. Tang Zheng and the others of course went up the mountain by car. After looking around, they saw that it was already late, so they went down the mountain by car. Mu Hongyan personally drove, and Tang Zheng sat in the passenger seat, holding Nana in his arms. This girl was more and more clingy to Tang Zheng, and she wanted to hang on him all the time. She had more authority than Fang Shishi, his official girlfriend. However, no one cared about this child. Instead, they thought she was very cute. The car drove at a constant speed. There was a curve in front of them. Suddenly, there was a violent crash. Then, everyone in the car felt like they were about to fly. Be careful! Tang Zheng shouted. From the rearview mirror, he saw a huge off-road vehicle hit the butt of their car. There's a car accident. Mu Hongyan also noticed this and quickly shouted, Everyone, don't panic. The people in the car were not ordinary people. Except for the initial panic, they didn't make a fuss. Our car is still sliding forward. Be careful. Tang Zheng reminded, and Mu Hongyan hurriedly stepped on the brakes, but the car's forward momentum still did not stop, because the off-road vehicle behind them was like a roaring beast, pressing against their cars but as it rushed forward. The tires rubbed against the ground, creating several black tire marks. In the blink of an eye, their car was pushed to the edge of the cliff at the curve and hit the railing hard. Their hearts sank. This was not a car accident, but a well-planned assassination. They wanted to knock them off the cliff. Tang Zheng was shocked and shouted, Shishi, quickly open the door and jump out. Fang Shishi's reaction was very fast, but Li Xiaotian's reaction was faster than hers. He had already unbuckled his seatbelt, kicked open the deformed door, and rushed out like a leopard. Bang bang. Two muffled gunshots sounded, and the others were shocked. The assassin actually used a gun. This determination was too great. Shishi, be careful of the gun. Tang Zheng reminded her. Fang Shishi shouted, understood, and rushed out of the car. A bullet just happened to fall on the door. If she was a second later, she would definitely be hit by the bullet. These people are not ordinary people. Tang Zheng thought, but he didn't have time to think about who sent the other party and who the target was. The only thought in his mind now was to escape. It was not difficult for him to escape, but it was not so easy for Mu Hongyan. After all, she didn't know martial arts. In her panic, she didn't even have time to unbuckle her seatbelt. Then, with a loud bang, the car slammed into the railing, and half of it was suspended in the air. Mu Hongyan's side of the door was severely deformed because of the impact, and the huge impact made her stuck in the seat, unable to move. She subconsciously let out a scream. When Nana saw this, she cried loudly. She was in Tang Zheng's arms and was not injured, but when the child saw this scene, she was instinctively afraid. "Mom!" Nana cried out. Mu Hongyan shouted, "Tang Zheng, hurry up and save Nana. Don't worry about me. You hang in there. I'll come to save you after I get Nana out." The situation was urgent, and Tang Zheng didn't have time to think. He kicked the door and rushed out. Bang bang, bullets rained down on Tang Zheng, causing dust to fly around him. Tang Zheng simply had no way to put Nan down, so he could only tightly hug her in his embrace to prevent her from being hit by the bullets. With a casual glance, he saw 4 black muzzles poking out of the off-road vehicle's window, aiming at them and shooting. Damn it, who are these people? How could they use such powerful firepower? Tang Zheng gnashed his teeth in hatred, but found that Fang Shishir and Li Xiaonan were lying on the ground, not daring to show their heads. These gunmen were too hateful. They must know that they knew martial arts, so they used their firepower to suppress them. "We can't go on like this." Tang Zheng glanced back and found that the car was tilting away from the cliff. If they didn't get rid of these gunmen, they wouldn't have time to save Mu Hongyan. So, she pushed Nana into Fang Shishir's arms and said, "Protect Nana. Be careful. I'll get rid of these people. Be careful." It was the first time that Fang Shishir had faced such a thrilling situation. She couldn't help but be excited and scared. Tang Zheng rushed out, and the bullets almost brushed past his body. He roared, and with a wave of his hand, a few stones that he picked up in passing shot into the windshield. Under the broken windshield, the driver was hit by a stone on the spot and suddenly fell on the steering wheel. Suddenly, the off-road vehicle sped up. At such a close distance, Tang Zheng could even see the surprise on the faces of the other gunmen. Obviously, they didn't expect Tang Zheng's reaction to be so fast. Moreover, the driver stepped on the gas pedal before he died, so the off-road vehicle rushed toward Tang Zheng like a runaway horse. Tang Zheng quickly moved aside. Seeing the off-road vehicle speeding past him, Tang Zheng quickly grabbed the window with his arm and flew to the roof of the car. Bang, bang, bang. The gunman found Tang Zheng's trace and aimed at the roof of the car and pulled the trigger. Tang Zheng didn't stay on the roof of the car. Instead, he lightly jumped over the roof and flipped to the other side. From the other side of the window, he punched a gunman in the face. Suddenly, the gunman's face exploded and blood flowed out. He died on the spot. Tang Zheng was furious. Just this punch alone was enough to kill. The remaining 2 gunmen shouted, "Shoot him, kill him, kill him." The gunshots were loud, but after all, 2 gunmen were dead. The threat to Tang Zheng was greatly reduced. Tang Zheng smoothly grabbed the hand holding the gun from the front passenger seat and pulled it hard. The pistol was in his hand. Tang Zheng didn't hesitate. He turned the muzzle, aimed at the other gunman in the back seat, and pulled the trigger. Although Tang Zheng had never used a gun at such a close distance, and his hand was very steady, his palm felt a little recoil. The muzzle didn't shake at all. The bullets poured out and completely shot into the enemy's body. When the last gunman saw this, his face turned pale with fright. He screamed and wanted to resist. Tang Zheng smashed the gun on the gunman's head. Blood flowed out, and the gunman fainted. "Tang Zheng, be careful." Suddenly, Fang Shishir screamed. Before Tang Zheng had time to react, he felt a huge impact. If he hadn't grabbed the window tightly, he would have been thrown out. Then he saw a frightening scene. The off-road vehicle hit Mu Hongyan's car, and the 2 cars fell off the cliff at the same time. Tang Zheng's body was also in midair. He felt a biting cold wind blowing from the cliff, and he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. Mu Hongyan's scream came from the car. Tang Zheng almost didn't think. He jumped up, and the 2 cars and 1 person fell down the cliff. Chapter 216. This scene scared Fang Shishir so much that she screamed, "Tang Zheng, brother godly doctor, Mom." Nana also burst into tears. Her tender little face was filled with fear. Her tears were like pearls rolling down her cheeks. Please add, Li Xiaonan also smacked her lips. It was hard to hide her surprise. He really dared to jump. Tang Zheng threw himself onto Mu Hongyan's car and quickly got into the car. He saw Mu Hongyan's face was ashen. She was already in despair. When she saw Tang Jing, Mu Hongyan shouted in surprise, "What are you doing here?" "I said I would save you. Naturally, I will come to save you." Tang Jing pulled out War Soul from under the seat. He even brought War Soul with him when he came out for a trip. War Soul flashed with a black light and slashed the other side of the car door. Mu Hongyan immediately regained her freedom. Tang Jing quickly held her in his arms and rushed out of the car. The mountain wind whistled. The two of them stood on the roof of the rapidly falling car. They found that the car had already fallen more than 100 meters. Tang Jing could only see Fang Shishi's face full of concern at the edge of the cliff. He also heard the heart-wrenching cries. Tang Jing's heart thumped as he thought to himself that the situation was not good. He had overestimated himself. Even though he did all of this in a short amount of time, under the influence of gravity, the speed of the car's descent was even faster than the speed at which he saved people. The distance of falling more than 100 meters was almost instantaneous. Now, Tang Jing had no way to rush to the top of the mountain. He was unwilling to give up. With a tap of his foot, he heavily stepped on the roof of the car. The two of them quickly rose into the air. However, they were still unable to rush to the top of the cliff that was more than 100 meters high. Then, the two of them quickly fell down like cannonballs. The mountain wind whistled in their ears. Tang Jing held the sword in one hand and Mu Hongyan in the other. His expression gradually changed. This was a cliff that was thousands of meters high. If he fell down, he would definitely be smashed to pieces. Not even his ashes would be left. Mu Hongyan felt her entire body turn cold. Was she going to die just like that? He would never be able to see Nana again. He would not be able to accompany her as she grew up. "Nana!" She shouted loudly, but her voice was drowned out by the whistling mountain wind. Indescribable sorrow and despair welled up in her heart, but when she saw Tang Jing holding her, she felt even more guilty. He actually risked his life to save her. "Tang Jing, you shouldn't have saved me. Now you're going to fall off the cliff with me." The mountain wind howled, and she finally managed to finish her sentence. Tang Jing forced a smile. "I promised to save you, so I naturally had to do it. But it seems that I didn't do it in the end. I can't save you." "I'm sorry, Tang Jing." Mu Hongyan's face revealed a look of despair. Tang Jing could no longer see Fang Shishi's face above his head. He only felt that he was falling faster and faster. He turned his face with difficulty and found that the ground was getting closer and closer. It was pitch black. Boom! The two cars hit the ground first, splashing up pitch-black soil. He used all his strength to hold onto Mu Hongyan. He used the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll and mobilized all his true chi to cover his whole body. He hoped that his body could offset the impact of the fall. With a muffled sound, Tang Jing felt a huge pain spread throughout his body. Then his vision turned black and he lost consciousness. At the top of the mountain, Fang Shishi's throat was almost hoarse from shouting. If she was not holding Nana in her arms, she would have jumped down without a care for her own safety. Li Xiaotian looked at all of this in disbelief. Tang Jing actually died like this. No matter how rich her imagination was, she would never have thought of this scene. She had always wanted to find out more about Tang Jing, but now everything was meaningless. "Fang Shishi, don't cry. It's useless crying," Li Xiaotian persuaded. "Go away, you bad woman." Fang Shishi angrily roared. Nana had long been sobbing. "Mom, brother godly doctor, where did you go? Nana wants to see you," sob sob sob. Li Xiaotian stood to the side resentfully. She looked at the bottomless cliff and did not say a word. This big movement had attracted everyone's attention. Many passing tourists stopped to watch. All the cars stopped and traffic was congested. However, no one dared to step forward. This was not an ordinary traffic accident, but an assassination. Ordinary people did not dare to act rashly and could only watch from afar. Not long after, the police station in the scenic area came. They controlled the scene and evacuated the guests. The news of Mu Hongyan being attacked and falling off the cliff was immediately transmitted back. Mu Hongyan was a celebrity in Dianan. It could be said that she was a household name. After all, She was in charge of the Long family's huge business empire. Moreover, she was capable and beautiful. Of course, she could attract many people's attention and was the object of admiration. Not long after, a helicopter flew to the edge of the cliff and hovered above their heads. A person jumped down from a height of more than 10 meters and landed lightly on the ground, safe and sound. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. An expert, this was a real expert. Everyone stared at this expert with wide eyes. It was a hale and hearty old man, Long Xianyuan. Long Xianyuan stood at the edge of the cliff with a gloomy face. He looked down and then retracted his gaze. Almost no one dared to breathe. The atmosphere was extremely oppressive and the scene was extremely quiet. Who did it? No one answered his question, and no one knew the answer. The scene fell into a dead silence. Long Xuanyuan's anger seemed to be about to explode at any time. No one dared to approach him. He took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. He asked again, Hong Yan and Tang Jing really fell off the cliff? Li Xiaotian finally spoke. He nodded and said, I saw it with my own eyes. Fang Shishir sobbed and said, Master Long, you must find them. You must save them. Nana, who had fainted because of sadness, woke up again. When she saw Long Xianyuan, she immediately threw herself into his arms and cried, Grandpa, Mom and Brother Godly Doctor fell. You must save them. Nana wants them. A trace of pain and love flashed through Long Xuanyuan's eyes. He patted his granddaughter's shoulder and comforted her, Nana, don't worry. Grandpa will definitely find them. They will be fine. Yes, I believe they are still alive. Fang Shishir nodded firmly. Long Xianyuan and Li Xiaotian looked at her in surprise. They didn't know where her confidence came from. This was a cliff that was thousands of meters high. No matter who fell, they would be smashed to pieces. Long Xianyuan might have been infected by Fang Shishir's persistence. He said, I will send people to search immediately. The helicopter circled around and immediately dived down to the bottom of the mountain to begin the search. Long Xianyuan, on the other hand, brought Fang Shishir and the others to the car and returned to the small villa by the lake. The news of Mu Hongyan being attacked and falling off the cliff quickly spread to the ears of the various forces in Dianan. Everyone wondered if they had heard wrongly. Mu Hongyan being attacked and falling off the cliff, was this a joke? There was actually someone who dared to do such a thing in Dianan. Before everyone's shock subsided, Long Xuanyuan's anger followed closely behind. Several forces that were secretly opposing the Long family were swept away at a speed that was as easy as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. The atmosphere of the entire Dianan became oppressive, and an inexplicable pressure pervaded the air. Everyone immediately expressed that this matter was not done by them. The Long family was a veritable local tyrant in Dianan. Many people relied on the Long family to make a living. Assassinating Mu Hongyan was like poking a hornet's nest. Long Xianyuan didn't listen to one side of the story. Not only did he continue to send a large number of people to investigate, but he also focused on the investigation of the gunmen. In the end, the investigation found that a group of foreign assassins had recently appeared in Dianan, and this matter was done by them. This group of foreign assassins obviously didn't know Mu Hongyan's identity, so they only thought of her as an ordinary rich person. They never thought that she would have such a prominent identity. It was no wonder. The local forces in Dianan knew how terrifying this matter was. It was simply impossible to do it. Only the foreign forces didn't know the details and poked such a big hornet's nest. The search of the helicopter quickly came to a preliminary result. There was a large area of forbidden death below the fairy peak. The people of Dianan were very clear about it. There were many swamps in this area, and miasma filled the air. The search was very difficult, and for the time being, the bodies of the two people had not been found. The so-called most beautiful place was often the most dangerous place. The fairy peak was like this. The scenery at the top of the mountain was beautiful, but at the bottom of the mountain was an endless forbidden death zone. It was connected with other undulating mountains, and was a primitive mountain range. Even though the tourism industry was developed, Dianan did not develop this primitive mountain range. This was because ferocious beasts ran rampant, swamps were everywhere, and miasma filled the air. Once an ordinary person inhaled a large amount of miasma, it was enough to be fatal. Moreover, the countless swamps were like bloody mouths, swallowing the lives of those who entered. Every year, there were many exploration teams that entered this forbidden death zone, but they never came out again. In the past few years, there were fewer and fewer people exploring. Everyone gradually understood that this forbidden death zone was the hunting ground of the Grim Reaper, and it was better not to touch it. Under the pressure of Long Xinyuan, his subordinates wore gas masks and searched this small area for 3 days and 3 nights, but they still found nothing. Many people thought that although they did not find the bodies, they must have been swallowed by the swamps that ate people without spitting out the bones. The Long family fell into a state of sadness, but there were some people who were not sad. Long Tingyu had been secretly happy for the past few days, and he was extremely happy. This was because the real culprit of this assassination was him. He had specially invited foreign forces to do this business in order to not expose himself. Now, he had finally gotten what he wanted. However, he also had a little regret. He had originally planned to kill Tang Zheng alone, and then capture Mu Hongyan alive. This way, he could fulfill his wish and get Mu Hongyan, this beauty, into bed. However, Tang Zheng's reaction was too intense. He directly killed the other party's driver, causing both parties to fall off the cliff. Although it was a little regretful, Long Tingyu was still very happy, because his gaze was fixed on other prey. Since Tang Zheng was dead, then his beautiful girlfriend had become an ownerless object. Without Mu Hongyan, then let Feng Shishir take over. Chapter 217. Tang Zheng regained consciousness and found that his entire body was in incomparable pain, as if he had fallen apart. It was as if every bone in his body was broken and his muscles were torn apart. He had never tasted this kind of pain before. Quick update, no ads, coming soon. He let out a painful groan before he adapted to the pain. Then, he took a deep breath and used a lot of strength to slowly open his eyes. His eyelids were so heavy that it felt like they were filled with lead. When he finally opened his eyes, a dim light entered his vision. The scene in his field of vision slowly condensed together and projected on his retina. This was a dim wooden house. The wind was blowing all around, and there was light coming in through the cracks in the wood. Tang Zheng was lying on a cold wooden bed. His body was tied to the bedboard by ropes, making him unable to move. What's going on? Why am I tied up? Didn't I fall off the cliff with Mu Hongyan? Shouldn't I be dead? Is this the ghost realm? No, Tang Zheng had heard a little about the ghost realm from Tian Chanzi. This was definitely not the ghost realm. Moreover, after people died, they became ghosts and were muddle-headed. How could they be as clear-headed as he was? He could still remember everything that happened before, and the feeling of his body was so real. I'm not dead. Tang Zheng immediately judged this point. Although his whole body was in unbearable pain, this news still made him very excited. As long as he was not dead, there was still hope. But who saved him? Why did they help him? And where was this place? A series of questions came one after another, and he felt a splitting headache. It seemed that the injury was too serious to even think about it. Let's check the condition of my body first. Tang Zheng hurriedly operated. The true fire in his sea of consciousness was dim, and the purple flame was half of what it used to be. The true qi in his body was almost exhausted. Almost all the bones in his body had different degrees of damage. His arm and leg bones were broken, and several of his ribs were broken. His muscles were also torn, and even his internal organs were shaken and displaced. If he had not used his true qi to protect the key parts of his body, he was afraid that the situation would be worse. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. His body's condition was unprecedentedly bad. Even if he wasn't tied up, he wouldn't be able to move. However, the most important thing now was to figure out where he was and whether the person who had saved him was an enemy or a friend. And what about Mu Hongyan? Is anyone there? He called weakly. The door was pushed open, and a young man with a gloomy face walked in. His eyes were like an eagle's, bright and spirited. Thank you for saving me. May I ask where this place is? Tang Zheng finally let out a sigh of relief and asked impatiently. The young man didn't say a word, looking down at him like a tiger eyeing its prey. Tang Zheng's head thumped. This look is not good. I didn't do anything bad. Is there a need to be so hostile? Hello. Tang Zheng tried to say hello again. The young man didn't move, making Tang Zheng wonder if he was a mute. Their eyes met, and after a moment, the young man coldly asked, "Who are you?" Tang Zheng let out a sigh of relief. Since the young man spoke, then there was a way to communicate, so he quickly said, "I am an ordinary person. I fell from the top of a cliff and woke up here. Was it you who saved me? Thank you. Also, I have a companion. I don't know how she is." The young man didn't answer. Tang Zheng secretly felt bad. Could it be that Mu Hongyan died? Then Nana would become a real orphan. She didn't die. The young man suddenly said. Tang Zheng almost rolled his eyes. Can you not speak so slowly? You almost scared me to death. You are a liar, not a good person. The young man decisively said. Tang Zheng was stunned. How did I become a liar? You don't even know me. You are lying. You are not an ordinary person. The young man said. Not an ordinary person. Tang Zheng's head trembled, and his face became serious. Could it be that the other party discovered something? He didn't have time to think about this problem when a burst of footsteps sounded, getting closer and closer. He saw an old man surrounded by a group of people walk in. This old man had a head full of snow-white hair and a long beard. His face was full of wrinkles and his face was somewhat pale, but his eyes were full of wisdom, as if they could see through people's hearts. The old man sat down in front of the bed and stared at Tang Zheng without blinking. He asked in an amiable manner, "This little brother, you fell off the cliff and were saved by my clansmen when they were hunting. Now you are safe." Tang Zheng said that he was afraid it might not be safe, but after all, it was the other party who saved him. He hurriedly said, "Thank you for saving my life. I have a few questions to ask, little brother." The old man politely said. Tang Zheng was a fish on the chopping block, so he naturally couldn't refuse. He softly said, "Please ask. Is this your sword?" The old man took out a sword from behind him and asked. Tang Zheng's eyes narrowed. This was his war soul sword. He didn't expect it to fall into the hands of the other party, but he was relieved. At least the war soul sword was not lost, otherwise he would have suffered a great loss. Seeing the other party ask about the war soul sword so seriously, Tang Zheng hesitated. Should he admit that this was his sword or not? The elder asked you a question. Why are you hesitating? You must be thinking of how to lie. Elder, this person is definitely not a good person. You must not believe his words. The young man from before said with hostility. The elder turned a deaf ear and still looked at Tang Zheng without batting an eyelid, waiting for his answer. Even the people behind him held their breaths and looked at Tang Zheng at the same time. Being looked at by so many complicated eyes, Tang Zheng felt an indescribable pressure. He didn't know the consequences of admitting or not, and he couldn't figure out the other party's background. In the end, he hesitated for a long time and decided to tell the truth. This is my sword. The elder's eyebrows showed a trace of undetectable excitement, but it was caught by Tang Zheng. He knew that he had made the right bet. Then may I ask who little brother is? The elder asked again. The young man quickly said, Elder, I have already asked him this question. He did not tell the truth and said that he was an ordinary person. The elder waved his hand, indicating that the other party should not speak. He then looked at Tang Zheng, waiting for his answer. Tang Zheng was puzzled. How should he answer this question? What was the other party's intention? I am just an ordinary person who accidentally fell off the cliff with a friend. A light flashed in the elder's eyes as he said, If little brother is just an ordinary person, then I am powerless. Your injuries will cripple you for the rest of your life, and you will lie in bed for the rest of your life. Then you can only stay here until you die of old age. Tang Zheng knew that his injuries were very serious, but according to his words, he had still underestimated the severity of his injuries. More importantly, the other party seemed to be preparing to leave him behind and lie in bed for the rest of his life. Tang Zheng did not dare to imagine what kind of life that would be. Moreover, he still had to take care of his grandfather, stay with Feng Shishir, and ordinary balance's huge career. All of this made it impossible for him to stay out of it and be a cripple here. However, he still could not figure out what the other party wanted to hear. Could it be that the other party had discovered some clues from the War Soul Sword? Logically speaking, in the eyes of ordinary people, the War Soul Sword was only a little sharper and could be considered a treasure sword. Unless one could tell that the War Soul Sword was a magic treasure, it would not be able to attract such attention. I want to see my friend first. In the end, Tang Jing did not reveal his identity as a cultivator. This identity was too important. If the other party was an enemy, then he could forget about living. Therefore, he was prepared to delay for a period of time and observe the situation here first. The elders smiled. Sure, I'm not in a hurry to know the answer. It won't be too late for you to tell me when you've thought it through. However, you can't drag this on for too long, otherwise you'll end up with a chronic illness for the rest of your life. After pausing for a moment, he turned to the young man and said, Yuan, take him to see his friend later. Yes, elder. Yuan respectfully accepted the order. The elder brought the War Soul Sword and the others out of the small wooden house. Only Tang Jing and Yuan were left in the room. Yuan obviously did not have a good expression on his face towards Tang Jing. With a gloomy face, he said, No matter how glib your tongue is, I will not believe you. You better not have any bad ideas, otherwise I will mercilessly break your head. Tang Jing smiled bitterly. I'm about to become a cripple, what bad ideas can I have? Yuan coldly snorted, as if he agreed with his words. Please untie the rope and help me to see my friend. Tang Jing said, Why do you want to untie the rope? Let me tell you, if you don't tell the truth, don't even think about getting me to untie the rope. Then how am I supposed to meet my friend? You can't just tie me to the bed and carry me there. Tang Jing said doubtfully. You want to lift your small body? You're simply insulting me. Yuan was indignant. Then, he grabbed the wooden bed with one hand and gently lifted it up. Even though Tang Jing's nerves were thick, he couldn't help but feel his eyelids twitch when he saw this scene. If he didn't circulate his energy, he wouldn't be able to lift such a heavy thing with one hand with just his physical strength. However, if he circulated his energy, his strength would increase explosively, so it was possible for him to do so. However, the key point was that this Yuan didn't feel any true qi or inner strength fluctuations from his body. This was very terrifying. Tang Jing couldn't help but mutter to himself. Just who was the other party? And that elder, although he didn't look much different from an ordinary old man, to be able to make this Yuan be so respectful, he couldn't be an ordinary person. In short, the identities of this group of people were extremely mysterious, and now that he had become their captive, it was hard to predict his fate. Looking at the surprise in Tang Jing's eyes, a trace of pride flashed across Yuan's eyes. He said, I am the most powerful person in the younger generation of our clan. If you dare to act rashly, I will kill you easier than killing an ant. As he spoke, Yuan walked out of the wooden house with the wooden bed. It was noon and the sun was high in the sky. Tang Jing subconsciously closed his eyes. After adapting to the sunlight, he slowly opened his eyes again and couldn't help but be dumbstruck. Chapter 218. A huge circular plaza appeared in front of Tang Jing. This plaza was the size of 2 football fields. The ground of the plaza was extremely flat, and the ground was carved with complicated patterns. The most eye-catching thing was the 4 huge stone statues around the plaza. The stone statues were about 10 feet tall and bathed in the sunlight, emitting a mysterious aura. These stone statues were lifelike, no different from ordinary people. Looking closely, it was as if the stone statues were also looking at him. A soul-stirring power reached straight into his heart, causing him to feel deep veneration. Seeing Tang Jing staring straight at the stone statue, Yuan said proudly, This is the guardian of my clan, isn't it spectacular? Tang Jing swallowed his saliva. To tell the truth, he had never seen such a tall and spectacular stone statue with his own eyes before. He sincerely said, Spectacular. The guardian god has protected my clan for countless years. Even the elders don't know when they appeared. Yuan sighed. What clan are you from? Tang Zheng realized that the other party's clothes were still different from his. They were basically coarse linen clothes, which were already very rare. Furthermore, they all had long hair, just like ancient people. Ancient people? Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. He raised his eyes and looked into the distance. The plaza was surrounded by scattered houses, and outside was a forest that covered the sky and covered the sun. Tang Zheng looked into the distance from the top of the fairy peak and discovered that there were vast mountains that stretched to the end of his line of sight. Although they were not as high as the fairy peak, they occupied an extremely large area, giving people a strong visual impact. Tang Zheng stood on the flat ground, unable to see what was behind the forest that covered the sky, but he also felt that it was an endless forest. In other words, he was currently in the vast forest that he had seen before. Wasn't it said that this was a forbidden zone of death, filled with miasma and swamps that were not suitable for human survival? How could there be humans? His heart was in turmoil. These people were dressed strangely. Could it be that they were from some tribe that lived in seclusion here? Tang Zheng could not make up his mind. If they were really an ancient tribe that lived in seclusion here, how could they avoid the detection of such high-tech satellites with such advanced technology? After all, with such a huge square and these mysterious stone statues standing in broad daylight, the low Earth orbit satellites that were tens of thousands of meters above the ground would definitely notice them. Hearing his question, Yuan glanced at him warily and said, "You want to get information from me? No way." Yuan's progress was like flying. Holding the wooden bed, he quickly arrived at a house at the edge of the plaza. This house was obviously much better than the house Tang Zheng lived in. From afar, Tang Zheng saw a familiar figure sitting in front of the house. His eyes were blank, and he was holding his chin with one hand. He was staring at the square in a daze. Mu Hongyan. Tang Zheng recognized her at a glance. She was safe and sound under the protection of Tang Zheng's body. Mu Hongyan also saw Tang Zheng on the wooden bed. With a whoosh, she jumped up and quickly walked up to him. She cried out in surprise, "Tang Zheng, are you okay?" "He won't die for the time being." Tang Zheng forced out a smile, but it affected his muscles. A heart-wrenching pain assaulted him, causing his smile to be uglier than crying. Mu Hongyan patted her chest and said with lingering fear, "I thought something bad had happened to you. These people never told me about you." While they were talking, Tang Zheng had already been put down. Mu Hongyan finally saw his appearance clearly. He was actually tied up. Immediately, she raised her eyebrows and stared at Yuan. "What are you doing? Why are you tying him up?" Yuan said coldly, "Of course it's to prevent him from escaping. We are free. If we want to leave, we can leave. What right do you have to stop us?" Mu Hongyan roared angrily, like an angry lioness. Yuan remained unmoved and said, "He is my captive. Before he tells the truth, I will never let him escape." "Captive? You put us under house arrest. This is against the law." Mu Hongyan complained. "Against the law?" Yuan was stunned for a moment, then laughed out loud. "Our elders are the law here. I am following the elders' orders. How could I break the law?" Tang Zheng knew that talking to this kid was nonsense, so he hurriedly stopped Mu Hongyan and said, "Do you still remember what happened to us?" Mu Hongyan shook her head blankly. "I only remember that the two of us fell off the cliff together, and when we woke up, we were already here. Fortunately, you used your body to save me, and I am safe and sound. We have been here for 2 days, and I have been asking for your news, but they did not tell me at all." As she spoke, she angrily glared at Yuan, but Yuan acted as if he did not see it. He only pricked up his ears to listen to the conversation between the two, as if he wanted to discover some secret from the conversation. 2 days? You mean we've been here for 2 days? Tang Zheng was shocked. Could it be that he had been unconscious for 2 days? Mu Hongyan said with a sad expression, "Yes, it's been 2 days. Our family must be worried to death about us. We have to hurry back." Tang Zheng obviously knew that his family members were burning with anxiety. It was very likely that they all thought that he had fallen off the cliff and died. However, the key point was that it was not easy to leave this place. Furthermore, he was injured and could not move. "Don't be impatient. We will definitely go back. I promise you," Tang Zheng said firmly. Mu Hongyan looked into his eyes and her heart softened. Tang Zheng had fallen off the cliff in order to save her, and if it wasn't for protecting her, he wouldn't have been injured to such an extent. All these years, no one had ever dared to give up their lives for her. Her heart seemed to be melting. Hearing Tang Zheng's promise, she did not doubt it. Instead, she believed it without hesitation. She nodded and said, "I believe you. We will definitely leave this place." Yuan scoffed and sneered disdainfully, "Without the help of our clansmen, even if your body recovers, it would be impossible for you to leave this 10,000 huge mountains." Their expressions couldn't help but darken. "All right, you've seen your friend. Let's go back," Yuan said. Mu Hongyan's expression suddenly changed. She grabbed onto the wooden bed tightly and shouted, "No, he's injured. I want to take care of him. You can't take him away." These 2 days were definitely torture for Mu Hongyan. She didn't know anyone and everyone looked at her with vigilance. Now that she finally saw Tang Zheng, how could she let him leave her? Unknowingly, Tang Zheng was able to stabilize her mind and give her peace of mind. She had already treated Tang Zheng as her pillar of support. Yuan frowned and said unhappily, "You've already seen each other. If you still want to stay together, there's no way." As he spoke, he was about to gather the wooden bed together. "No, he's already injured to such an extent. He can't be left unattended." Mu Hongyan desperately grabbed onto the wooden bed and refused to let go. Yuan glared angrily. Why were these two so troublesome? He was not a person who would take pity on the fairer sex. He directly raised his hand and Mu Hongyan fell into the air. Seeing this, Tang Zheng hurriedly stopped him and said, "Stop, let us stay together. Otherwise, you won't be able to get my answer." "You dare to threaten me?" Yuan flew into a rage. His other hand clenched into a fist, as if he could smash Tang Zheng's head at any moment. However, Tang Zheng acted as if he did not see it. He stared straight at Yuan and did not back down. "I am threatening you, so what can you do? Do you believe that I won't blow your head off with one punch? All right then, come. Since I've already become like this, I don't care if I take another punch." Tang Zheng laughed. Yuan was startled. This person was really not afraid of death. Of course, he did not dare to kill Tang Zheng. Otherwise, the elder would skin him alive. "If you can't make the decision, you can ask your elder," Tang Zheng said. "Just you wait, I will never let you succeed." Yuan angrily put down the wooden bed. Mu Hongyan landed on the ground again. Her legs went soft as she laid on the bed, exhaling like an orchid. Yuan angrily left and went to ask for instructions from the elder. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan could finally be alone. He hurriedly said in a low voice, "Have you found any useful information in the past 2 days?" Mu Hongyan took a deep breath and said, "In the past 2 days, I have been restricted from moving too far, but I have also seen some things. This is obviously an ancient tribe that lives in seclusion in the 10,000 mountains." It was hard to imagine that there was such an ancient tribe living in the death-forbidden zone in everyone's eyes. They hunt for a living. Every day, I can see people carrying the corpses of ferocious beasts back. The people of this tribe seem to be extremely strong, and there are hundreds of them. Then is there any way to leave this place? Mu Hongyan shook her head. There are people guarding every exit, and the houses are surrounded by high fences, so there is no way to escape. Just like what that person said earlier, this is the depths of the 10,000 mountains, and other than them, it would be very difficult for outsiders to leave. As she spoke, her expression couldn't help but darken. She originally thought that she would die without a doubt, but she didn't expect to be saved. However, just as she escaped from the gates of hell, she entered the tiger's den and fell into the hands of this mysterious tribe who she didn't know if they were enemies or friends. "Tang Zheng, let me see if your injuries are serious." "Are they serious?" Mu Hongyan asked worriedly. Tang Zheng laughed bitterly. "I can still hold on for a few days with this injury, but I'm afraid it's hard to say if I can recover in the end. I don't even know how many bones I have broken." Mu Hongyan's eyes reddened and she was about to cry. She was originally a strong woman, but at this moment, she was especially sensitive. She said shamefully, "Tang Zheng, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. If you didn't save me, you wouldn't have become like this. Tang Jing squeezed out a smile and said, "Don't say this, let's think about how to leave this place." Mu Hongyan wiped the corner of her eyes and said, "First of all, we should think of a way to cure your injuries." Tang Jing secretly sighed. He didn't even have the most basic medicine, so treating his injuries was easier said than done. However, if he didn't treat his injuries, they wouldn't be able to leave. Dong dong dong. A burst of hurried footsteps could be heard. A Yuan returned with an unfriendly expression. Tang Jing's heart moved and said, "Elder, have you agreed?" A Yuan coldly snorted, "I'm warning you, don't have any bad ideas. Hurry up and tell the truth, otherwise I won't let you off." As he said that, he broke the rope on Tang Jing's body and lifted him up with one hand. He entered the house and placed him on Mu Hongyan's bed. Then, he picked up the wooden bed outside the house and left unwillingly. Tang Jing heaved a sigh of relief. Staying with Mu Hongyan would at least make it easier to communicate and understand everything here. Mu Hongyan was also overjoyed. Before Tang Jing could be happy, he felt a strong urge to urinate in his lower abdomen. He had been unconscious for 2 days, and now he wanted to pee. Chapter 219. Tang Jing's cheeks were flushed red, and he found it hard to speak. Mu Hongyan noticed that he was acting strangely and quickly bent down. Her shirt collar revealed a large area of snow white, and the buttons were almost bursting out of it. "Tang Jing, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" Tang Jing couldn't move, and he couldn't solve the problem by himself. Could it be that a living person was going to be suffocated to death by urine? He didn't want to die so sullenly, so he stammered, "I want to go to the toilet." Mu Hongyan finally understood why his face was so red. She couldn't help but feel a little shy and sad. If it wasn't to save her, how could he not even be able to do such a small thing? So, she didn't hesitate to ask, "The big one or the small one?" "The small one." Tang Jing's voice was like a mosquito. Wasn't his skin very thick? How could he be so shy at this time? "You can't move. Wait for me." Mu Hongyan quickly ran out, leaving Tang Jing sighing. He had to find a way to get better, otherwise he would be crippled for the rest of his life. If he couldn't even take care of himself, then it would be better to kill him. Mu Hongyan rushed in again, holding a chamber pot in her hand. "Don't move, I'll help you." Mu Hongyan took a deep breath and pretended to be calm as she calmly said. Although she was a married person, this was the first time she had done this kind of thing for someone. She couldn't help but feel a little flustered, but more than that, she felt shy. "Mu Hongyan, what kind of nonsense are you thinking? Tang Jing is your benefactor, and the reason he is enduring such pain is all to save you. Moreover, he is only a child in his teens, so how can you have such unbearable thoughts?" Mu Hongyan asked herself, and gradually calmed her emotions. Seeing her unzip his pants, Tang Jing wished he could find a hole to hide in. He never thought that he would have a day like this. Suddenly, he felt his little brother being grabbed. The soft touch made his mind ripple. Most importantly, this was F*King exciting. F*CK, this is torture. Tang Jing cried out in his heart. Mu Hongyan had already grabbed his little brother and aimed it at the mouth of the chamber pot. Mu Hongyan said, "It's done." Tang Jing quickly discarded all distracting thoughts. The urge to pee hit him, and his whole body relaxed. The sound of water splashing could be heard. He wished he could finish peeing as soon as possible, but he had accumulated too much in the past 2 days. It was as if there was no end to it. The two of them tacitly remained silent, and the only sound left in the room was the sound of running water. Mu Hongyan concentrated on looking at the little thing. Although she tried her best to suppress the thoughts in her heart, her beautiful cheeks couldn't help but turn red all the way to her neck, making her incomparably beautiful. He's not a child anymore, he's already so big. She couldn't help but have this thought, which made her feel even more embarrassed. Phew! Tang Jing finally let out a sigh of relief as he finished peeing. He unconsciously looked at her and found that her cheeks were pink and her eyes were watery. Moreover, because she was slightly bent over, her chest was so full that it seemed like it was about to burst out. Tang Jing's head moved. He actually felt something, and his little brother immediately reacted. Mu Hongyan's hand clearly felt this change. Of course, she understood what was going on, but she pretended not to know. She resisted her embarrassment and stuffed the thing back into her pants. The two of them let out a sigh of relief at the same time. If this continued, Tang Jing didn't know what kind of ugly state he would reveal. Mu Hongyan carried the chamber pot and walked out. Looking at her graceful figure, Tang Jing regretted it. If he knew it would be this awkward, he wouldn't have lived with her. No, I have to leave this damned place as soon as possible. Do I really have to admit my identity as a cultivator? Tang Jing was hesitant. After a while, Mu Hongyan walked back. Her face had already returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. She sat on the bed and said, "Tang Jing, how can your injury be cured? I'll first try to see if it's effective. Next, I need you to continue to silently observe this group of people. See if there's anything special about them other than their strength." Tang Jing warned. In addition, find a way to figure out what kind of tribe they are. They actually live in seclusion in the 100,000 mountains. I always feel that it's not simple. They must have a lot of secrets. Only by collecting as much information as possible would Tang Jing be able to judge the other party's intentions. Do you think they're cultivators? Mu Hongyan asked curiously. Cultivators? Tang Jing denied this point. None of them have any innate qi fluctuations, so it's impossible for them to be cultivators. However, this tribe is simply too mysterious. They are not cultivators, nor are they martial artists, yet they have such great strength. It's simply inconceivable. I understand. I will try my best to collect as much information as possible. As night fell, the two of them ate the dinner that Yuan brought over. The night became especially quiet, and there were no other entertainment activities in the mountains. Every household returned to their rooms to rest. Tang Jing and Mu Hongyan, on the other hand, faced an awkward situation. There was only one bed in this room, and if the two of them wanted to rest, they could only sleep on the same bed. You sleep on the other side. Don't worry, I can't move at all. I won't do anything bad. Tang Jing tried his best to speak in a calm tone. Mu Hongyan smiled. I believe you. Under the illumination of the candlelight, she gave off a hazy sense of seductive beauty. Tang Jing hurriedly closed his eyes, not looking at this beauty. A single man and a single woman, sharing a bed and sleeping with their clothes on. To be able to sleep on the same bed as Mu Hongyan was something that countless men dreamed of, but it was Tang Jing who beat them to it. However, he couldn't do anything about it. However, smelling the fragrance emitted from her body, he still couldn't help but feel a surge of emotions. He forced himself to abandon all distracting thoughts and only fell asleep in the middle of the night. Mu Hongyan fell asleep in a daze. In her dream, she actually dreamed of the embarrassing scene during the day. In her dream, she still saw Tang Jing's thing grow bigger and harder. She couldn't help but panic. Suddenly, a painful groan woke her up. She opened her eyes in a daze and found that Tang Jing was sweating profusely, his mouth continuously letting out painful cries. Tang Jing, what's wrong with you? She was shocked. It hurts, my whole body hurts. Tang Jing's whole body trembled as if he was sleep-talking. Mu Hongyan's heart moved. She remembered that he said during the day that she didn't know how many bones in his body were broken. At that time, she saw that he said it so easily, so she didn't take it to heart. Only now did she understand how terrifying this pain was. It was just that during the day, he had been suppressing this pain. Today, he fell asleep and showed this pain. Her heart felt like it was being ruthlessly stabbed by a knife. Her eyes turned red and tears fell. She called out a few more times, but Tang Jing still didn't wake up. Tang Jing, I'm sorry. Why are you so good to me? In the past few years, there have been too many people with ulterior motives towards me. No one has been so good to me. You don't even care about your own life and have to suffer so much pain. How can I repay you in the future? She choked and found that she couldn't continue speaking. She only felt that her heart was wrapped in a warm feeling. She reached out her hand and tightly hugged Tang Jing. She let him lie in her embrace with his head resting on her full chest. In the past few years, she had never had such intimate contact with a man. She had a natural repulsion towards other people. But at this moment, she didn't feel repulsion. She only felt heartache as she tightly hugged him. She wished that she could rub him into her body and bear this pain for him. Tang Zheng laid in her embrace and gradually calmed down. However, the pain between his brows was still strong. The two of them maintained this position and gradually fell asleep. At dawn, Tang Zheng opened his eyes and found that his head was resting on something soft. It was more comfortable than any of the pillows he had slept on before. Moreover, a fragrance entered his nose. He turned his eyes and immediately saw where he was. He was actually lying in Mu Hongyan's embrace. The thing behind his head was her chest. No wonder it was so comfortable. How did he run into her embrace last night? He couldn't move. Could it be that she took the initiative to hug him? He felt that he was being too whimsical. The key point was that this position was really ambiguous, causing his mind to ripple. It was also early in the morning, and all the functions of his body were in a state of excitement. He couldn't help but have a reaction. His little brother was already a pillar that could support the sky. "You're awake." At this moment, Mu Hongyan's voice sounded. Tang Zheng was lying in her embrace, so he couldn't see her expression at all. He didn't know if she saw his ugly state. He said awkwardly, "I just woke up." "Then get up. They should be bringing breakfast." Mu Hongyan hugged his body and moved to the bed. Tang Zheng finally saw her face clearly. Her face was slightly red and her eyes were red and swollen. It seemed that she had cried last night. Suddenly, her eyes swept over Tang Zheng's lower body, and the embarrassment in her eyes became even stronger. Tang Zheng immediately caught this gaze. He was both embarrassed and anxious that she had finally discovered his ugly state. At this time, he could only be thick-skinned and pretend that he didn't see it. Fortunately, at this time, Yuan brought breakfast to break the awkwardness. After breakfast, Tang Zheng lay on the bed alone. Mu Hongyan went out of the house and gathered as much information as possible. 2 days passed like this. Every morning when Tang Zheng woke up, he would find himself lying in her embrace. He finally got used to this luck, but the pain in his body was getting more and more intense. Every night, the time he cried out in pain was getting longer and longer. Even when he was awake during the day, he couldn't bear the bone-deep pain. His entire body was trembling non-stop. Mu Hongyan finally had a breakthrough in the past 2 days. She found out that this tribe was called the Witch Tribe, a tribe that neither of them had ever heard of. Seeing that Tang Zheng's pain was getting more and more intense, Mu Hongyan advised, "Tang Zheng, your injuries must be treated, otherwise the consequences will be unimaginable." How could Tang Zheng not understand this logic? But the current information still did not allow him to make the most correct judgment. However, if he did not treat it, he would really be crippled for life. In fact, for the past 2 days, he had been silently circulating the ancient Clear Heaven scroll, hoping to treat his injuries. However, his meridians were severely damaged, and his true qi did not recover so quickly. Everything was in vain. He gritted his teeth. Since he was going to die anyway, he had to go all out. "Go and call Yuan over." Mu Hongyan nervously left. A moment later, a burst of hurried footsteps approached from afar. Not only Yuan, even the elders had come. Chapter 220. Although the elder's expression was calm, there was still a trace of excitement in the depths of his eyes. Translation: Tang Zheng's face was slightly distorted from the pain, and he said, "Don't you want to know the answer? I'll tell you." "Please speak." The elder's excitement was finally revealed. Yuan also stared at Tang Zheng with wide eyes, as if he wanted to distinguish the truth of what he said. Mu Hongyan clenched her hands tightly together. The next sentence was related to the survival of the two of them. Tang Zheng's forehead was also covered in sweat. He did not know if it was because of nervousness or pain. He took a deep breath and said, "I am a cultivator." Plop. A muffled sound startled everyone. Tang Zheng's heart also jumped, but the scene in front of him left him dumbstruck. What was going on? Mu Hongyan was flabbergasted. The elder actually knelt in front of Tang Zheng and looked at Tang Zheng eagerly. 2 lines of old tears fell from the corners of his eyes. Yuan turned pale with fright, "Elder, what are you doing? Get up quickly, how can you kneel to him?" However, the elder was unmoved. His fervent eyes seemed to be able to burn people as he stared straight at Tang Jing. "Lord Envoy, our witch clan has finally waited for you. Is not equal to EXO." After saying that, tears streamed down his face. He prostrated himself on the ground in front of Tang Jing. Everyone was stunned. Witch clan's envoy, what was this thing? Tang Jing and Mu Hongyan looked at each other. Even though the two of them had imagined countless possibilities, they definitely did not think of this. This was completely beyond their imagination. Witch clan's envoy, how could he be the Lord Envoy? Yuan found it hard to believe. It was difficult for him to connect the immobile guy on the bed with the legendary Lord Envoy. Yuan had heard many rumors about the Witch clan's envoy since he was young. He was a godlike existence, the most powerful person in the world, so powerful that no one could look up to him. Furthermore, it was said that the Lord Envoy would lead the Witch clan out of their predicament and restore their former glory. Yuan yearned for the glory of the Witch clan in the past. From the few words that had been passed down, he could understand that the Witch clan was a powerful clan. They were born with divine strength that could support the heavens. However, for some reason, the shaman tribe had been exiled to the 100,000 mountains. In such a harsh environment, the shaman tribe had used the blood and lives of countless generations of shamans in exchange for the safety of the monks' residence. In addition, the shaman tribe was restricted by the 100,000 mountains. There was a restriction that prevented the shaman tribe from leaving the vast mountains. Even if the outside world changed rapidly, the shaman tribe could only hide in the mountains. It turned out that it wasn't that they didn't want to go out, but that they couldn't. The witch tribe's emissary was the hero who broke the prohibition and saved them from the abyss of suffering. When Yuan was young, there were records of magic treasures in his records. At that time, I did not dare to confirm that the magic treasure belonged to Lord Envoy, nor was I clear about Lord Envoy's identity as a cultivator. Later on, when I examined Darren's injuries, I discovered that Darren actually has 9 main meridians. This discovery made me both surprised and delighted. The legendary Lord Envoy had finally appeared. However, this matter is of great importance, so I did not make it public. Even after Lord Envoy woke up, I did not immediately explain this point because I did not dare to determine Lord Envoy's identity as a cultivator. Legend has it that only cultivators with 9 main meridians are the true Lord Envoy. Actually, last time, when Lord admitted that the magic treasure was your sword, I already knew that Lord Envoy was definitely a cultivator. However, to be on the safe side, I still had to get Lord Envoy's personal acknowledgement. Now, I have finally waited for this day. The heavens have eyes and bless my witch tribe. As he spoke, he almost knelt down again. Tang Jing hurriedly stopped him, only then did he stop. "You said that I am the witch tribe's emissary. What can I do to make you think so highly of me?" Tang Jing asked. "I will not speculate on Lord Envoy's ability, but legend has it that Lord Envoy's divine technique has the power to destroy the heavens and the earth." Divine technique? Could it be the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll? Tang Jing was puzzled, but he had obtained the ancient Clear Heaven Scroll by chance. Our witch tribe has been trapped here for generations. Only Lord Envoy can bring us out of here. The elder looked at Tang Jing expectantly. Chapter 221. Tang Jing was baffled and asked, "Since you can save me here, then you can naturally walk out of this 10,000 huge mountains. Why do you still need me to save you?" The elder's expression dimmed. "Lord Envoy, you may not know this, but our witch tribe has been restricted by restrictions for generations. As long as you are a member of the witch tribe, you will not be able to leave this 10,000 mountains. Only if you break this restriction will we be able to leave. Look at the latest chapter." Tang Jing curiously opened his eyes wide. There was actually such a strange thing. He asked doubtfully, "What ability do I have to break the restriction?" Tang Jing was only at the 9th grade of Qi refining, but this restriction was able to imprison the witch clan for generations, which meant that it had been going on for many years and was not an ordinary level of strength. Tang Jing guessed that it might be a restriction that prevented them from being discovered by outsiders and even escaped the surveillance of the satellites in the sky. Since the restriction was so powerful, Tang Jing was not arrogant enough to listen to the elder's words and feel that he was omnipotent and had really become a god. The elder said excitedly, "Legend has it that as long as Lord Envoy enters the sacred ground, he will know the method to break the restriction." Sacred ground? Yes. The sacred ground is the most important place in our witch clan. The witch clan is not allowed to enter, and only the Lord Envoy can enter. It is said that all the secrets to breaking the restriction are in the sacred ground. The elder explained. Tang Jing laughed bitterly. "Then look at me now, how can I enter the sacred ground?" The elder comforted him. "Lord Envoy, there is no need to worry. This little bit of pain will naturally not be able to defeat you. My witch clan has the black jade bone ointment. It can heal your injuries." Tang Jing was wild with joy and said, "All right, heal me first, we can talk about other things." Tang Jing could not stand this crippled state, and could not wait to recover to his lively state. The elder said respectfully, "Yes, I will follow the orders of the Lord Envoy." Then he walked out, and Mu Hongyan and A Yuan walked in again. A Yuan looked at Tang Jing with a complicated expression, while Mu Hongyan was even more nervous, and quietly asked, "What's going on?" Tang Jing laughed bitterly. "I don't know either, you heard it too. They believe that I am their Lord Envoy. I can bring them out of this place." Mu Hongyan really wanted to ask the elder what Tang Jing's characteristics were, but she swallowed her words back down. There was no doubt that Tang Jing's body was full of secrets. Even though the two of them were in the same boat, it was not convenient for her to ask about Tang Jing's secrets. "Then we're fine now?" Mu Hongyan asked nervously. Mu Hongyan was overjoyed. "As long as your injuries are healed, we will have a chance to leave this place." The two of them had long since grown wings in their hearts, and they wished that they could immediately fly back. "Lord Envoy, the black jade bone ointment has been brought over. As long as you apply the ointment to your entire body, your injuries will be healed in a day." The elder walked in with a black jar. "I can recover in a day?" Tang Jing found it hard to believe that such a heavy injury could be healed so quickly. It was truly a miraculous elixir. The elder said confidently, "Of course, this is a secret ointment made by my witch clan. Its effects are absolutely guaranteed." "Then quickly apply it on me," Tang Jing said impatiently. The elder placed the jar beside the bed and said, "Then I ask Lord Envoy's friend to apply the ointment for Lord Envoy. However, you must take off all of Lord Envoy's clothes and apply the black jade bone ointment on your skin. You must apply it to every inch of your skin." With that, the elder brought A Yuan out of the room, leaving Tang Jing and Mu Hongyan looking at each other in dismay. *CK, how could he just leave like that? Aren't you going to help me apply the ointment? He couldn't help but look at Mu Hongyan awkwardly. Could it be that he wanted her to apply the medicine? Then wouldn't he be stripped naked in front of her? Although Mu Hongyan had been serving him for the past few days and had seen everything that she should and shouldn't have seen, the two of them still felt awkward and ill at ease when they saw Tang Jing naked in front of her. Mu Hongyan took a deep breath. This extremely important matter had fallen on her shoulders, so she could not shirk it. Moreover, to be able to heal Tang Jing, this bit of embarrassment was nothing. Although her face was still flushed red, she took a deep breath and pretended to be calm as she said, "Tang Jing, then I'll take off your clothes now. If it hurts you, you have to endure it a little more." Tang Jing sighed inwardly. Since Mu Hongyan was not shy, then he, as a man, could not be pretentious. Thus he said, "Thank you very much." Mu Hongyan tried her best to suppress the charming thoughts in her heart as she took off Tang Jing's clothes one by one. Naturally, she had to be in close contact with every part of his body. Fortunately, Tang Jing had already adapted to it in the past few days and his body was not that sensitive. Otherwise, some of the natural reactions of his body would definitely make the two of them extremely awkward. Not long after, Tang Jing became naked. His wheat-colored skin and robust figure all revealed his masculine charm, especially his 8-pack abs and hard chest, making him not lose out to those professional models. What an alluring figure! Mu Hongyan's heart skipped a beat. Her heart couldn't help but beat faster, and her cheeks became even redder. With great difficulty, she suppressed the wild thoughts in her heart. Mu Hongyan opened the jar, and inside was a black ointment. A fishy smell assailed her nostrils, causing her to subconsciously cover her mouth and nose. "Why does this ointment smell so bad?" Tang Zheng muttered. "Good medicine tastes bitter. Although this ointment tastes strange, I believe it will have a very good effect." Mu Hongyan resisted the nausea and used her hand to grab the black jade bone ointment. The ointment was shiny, and although the smell was bad, its appearance was not bad. It really looked like a black jade. She slowly spread the black jade bone ointment on every inch of Tang Zheng's skin. Her slender jade fingers also caressed every inch of Tang Zheng's skin. This caressing caused Tang Zheng's skin to tremble, and he couldn't help but have a reaction. Any man who was caressed by such a beauty would definitely have a reaction. Tang Zheng was a normal man. Although he tried his best to suppress it, when Mu Hongyan spread the black jade bone ointment on his little brother, it suddenly stood up like an unsheathed sword. Mu Hongyan's hands clearly trembled, and her face was so red that it seemed like water could drip out. Her pair of limpid eyes were full of allure. Her breathing quickened, and her trembling hands continued to apply the ointment. Gradually, beads of sweat appeared on her body. By the time she had spent a lot of effort to turn Tang Zheng into a clay doll, her whole body was already soaked, as if she had collapsed. Tang Zheng's body was only left with a pair of eyes, mouth, and 2 nostrils. The rest of his body was covered by the black jade bone ointment. He opened his big eyes and stared at her tired and shy appearance. He was very grateful. "I'm done. I'll be going out first." Mu Hongyan rushed out of the house as if she was escaping. The elder and a Yuan walked in again. The elder nodded in satisfaction. "Very good, Lord Envoy, you can sleep for a while. One day later, it will be the time for you to be reborn." Tang Zheng glared at them fiercely. These 2 fellows must have done it on purpose, to let Mu Hongyan apply the medicine on him and embarrass him. However, the other party also had good intentions, so he couldn't criticize the other party. Thus, he closed his eyes and fell into a deep sleep. A day passed very quickly. This time, Tang Zheng actually slept for an entire day and night. Furthermore, he did not scream in pain. He slept very peacefully, just like a baby. Mu Hongyan had been sitting by the bed watching over him, so when Tang Zheng opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was her. Her face was tired, and she had 2 big dark circles under her eyes. It was obvious that she had not had a good rest today. Seeing that he had woken up, Mu Hongyan was overjoyed and quickly asked, "How do you feel?" Tang Zheng felt that his body was no longer in pain and was even healthier than before. Furthermore, the true qi and true fire in his body had miraculously recovered. The black jade bone ointment was truly a divine medicine. Tang Zheng felt that he had to bring this divine medicine with him when he left this place in the future. "I feel very good. My injuries are all healed." Tang Zheng was overjoyed as he tried to move his muscles and bones. Pa pa pa. The black jade bone ointment seemed to crack inch by inch as it fell off Tang Zheng's body, revealing his fair skin. It was completely different from the wheat color from before. In an instant, Tang Zheng was naked again. His skin was like snow, just like a Xiaobai's face. Mu Hongyan was dumbstruck. This effect was too miraculous, throwing away those expensive cosmetics who knew how many streets away. Tang Zheng also raised his hand to take a look. He couldn't believe it and said with a wry smile, "How did I become white?" Mu Hongyan giggled and said, "You are still yellow, but your skin is like a newborn baby. It's white with a hint of red, and it's so delicate that it can be broken by a blow. If other women saw it, they would be so envious of you." Her eyes roamed over his body, and her face turned pink again. He was not dressed yet, so she quickly said awkwardly, "These are the clothes they sent over. I'll go out first, you can change." Tang Zheng also realized the awkwardness. He quickly covered his important parts and stammered, "Okay, you go out first and wait for me." In fact, his body had already been seen completely. There was no need for this kind of superfluous action. Tang Zheng tiptoed out of bed and carefully looked at his skin again. He was afraid that when he went back, Fang Shishir would find it hard to believe. This was simply like a new life. The clothes were not linen like other clothes, but were made of high-quality silk. Even in the outside world, it was considered high-end goods. Moreover, this was an ancient costume. He had never worn an ancient costume before, so it took him a lot of brain cells to wear it neatly. Other than his short hair being a bit out of place, this ancient costume gave him a feeling of being a handsome young master from ancient times. He looked himself up and down and even shamelessly spun around. It felt good. He opened the door and walked out. The sun was shining outside, but Tang Jing did not put his attention into this beautiful environment. Instead, he was shocked by the dense crowd in the square. Hundreds of people were kneeling in front of him. Chapter 222. Even though Tang Zheng's nerves were thick, he was still deeply shocked by this scene, especially when the shamans looked at him with burning gazes. Tang Zheng felt like he was the leader of an evil sect. There were only two people standing at the scene, Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan. Mu Hongyan had long been stunned. This scene was like a dream. It was too unreal. In her world, she did not have the habit of kneeling down and kowtowing to others. Furthermore, these people were not forced, but were sincere. She looked at Tang Zheng, not knowing how he could be so capable. What was the identity of the witch tribe's envoy to be able to make them submit so willingly? Tang Zheng was startled for a moment before he regained his senses, but he did not know what to say. The elder knelt at the front and said loudly, "The witch tribe welcomes the arrival of the envoy." The witch tribe welcomes the arrival of the envoy. The earth-shattering shouts caused one's heart to tremble. Tang Zheng felt that he should say something, so he coughed dryly. After holding it in for a long time, he only said one sentence, "Everyone, please rise." No one got up, because the elder said again, "I implore you, Lord Envoy, to save my witch tribe from the sea of bitterness." I implore you, Lord Envoy, to save my witch tribe from the sea of bitterness. The shouts rang out again. Tang Zheng originally did not care much about the identity of this envoy. He wanted to find an opportunity to leave this place after his injuries were healed. He didn't know if it was because the elder had seen through his thoughts and created such a grand scene, leaving him with no way out. Looking at the men, women, elders, and children in the crowd whose eyes were filled with anticipation, Tang Zheng knew that if he agreed this time, he would have to fulfill his promise. However, those pairs of eyes made it impossible for him to refuse. Moreover, his life was saved by the witch tribe, so he should agree to their request. Thus, he said solemnly, "Everyone respects me as the envoy of the witch tribe. I don't understand what kind of virtue or ability I have to shoulder such a heavy responsibility, but I will definitely do my best to let everyone leave this vast 10,000 huge mountains." "Thank you, Lord Envoy." Waves of gratitude and cheers rang out. Many people had tears streaming down their faces. This was the wish of countless generations, and now they finally had the chance to realize it. "Elder, tell everyone to get up. It's not good to kneel like this." Tang Zheng quickly helped the elder up and said in a low voice. The elder was so excited that his hands trembled and his eyes were brimming with tears. He said, "Lord Messenger, you have led the sorcerer tribe out of the sea of suffering. It is our honor to kneel down and worship you." Tang Jing rolled his eyes. This old fellow was stubborn. He said unhappily, "Didn't you say that I was the envoy? Then listen to me and tell them to get up." Sure enough, his stern face was effective. The elder hurriedly ordered everyone to stand up, but he still stood in the middle of the square, staring at Tang Jing. Tang Jing felt that he was about to be melted by these blazing eyes. He pulled the elder and said, "Elder, although you have always said that I can lead you out of the 100,000 mountains, I don't have absolute confidence." The elder firmly shook his head. "Lord Envoy, there is no need to be modest. Everything will be clear when you go to the Holy Land tomorrow." Tang Jing had no choice but to do so. That night, a bonfire was lit in the huge square. All the clansmen gathered together to celebrate the arrival of the envoy. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan were naturally honored guests. They sat at the top while the elders accompanied them by the side. Mu Hongyan looked at the crowd celebrating around the bonfire in the square. She, who was used to seeing big scenes, was deeply shocked by this kind of worship and joy that came from the bottom of her heart. From time to time, she would turn her head to look at Tang Zheng. Under the light of the fire, his cheeks were well defined, and there was an additional trace of mysterious aura. People couldn't help but want to see what was going on. Mu Hongyan had seen countless successful men, but compared to the current Tang Zheng, they were all lacking in flavor. Even those who were worth billions could not be compared to him. He was like a huge black hole, enough to attract people's attention and hearts. Tang Zheng looked at the bonfire, and his gaze was involuntarily attracted by the 4 stone statues around the square. Under the illumination of the fire, these stone statues became even more mysterious. "Elder, I heard that these stone statues are the protectors of the witch clan, but they are just stone statues. How can they protect the witch clan?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. The elder retracted his gaze and said respectfully, "The legend of the guardian god has been passed down from generation to generation. I do not know too much about the guardian god." Tang Zheng felt that it was a pity that even the elders did not know about the guardian god, so he could not ask any more questions. He changed the question. "The people of the witch clan are all very strong. Why is that?" The elder's face revealed a proud expression as he said, "My witch clan is born with divine strength, but right now, we are only limited to our strength. Only when the restrictions are removed can my witch clan cultivate." Tang Zheng's heart skipped a beat. The people of the witch clan were born with divine strength. If they were able to cultivate, their strength would definitely be much stronger than ordinary people. "Sir, the witch clan is your most loyal warrior. In the future, we will follow you to fight in the north and south, creating a glory that belongs to you and the witch clan." Tang Zheng shook his head. "You have been trapped here for too long. The outside world is already completely different. I am just an ordinary person outside. There is no way I can talk about fighting in the south and north." "No, Lord Envoy is destined to achieve a heaven-shaking feat in the future, and my witch clan will be Lord's most loyal warriors, sweeping away all obstacles for Lord," the elder said firmly. Mu Hongyan could not help but be alarmed. This elder's tone was too big. Of course, she was even more interested in Tang Zheng's decision. She did not know what he planned to do in the future with such a powerful force. Suddenly, a tiger's roar sounded out, and a cage appeared in the plaza. Inside the cage was a ferocious tiger that was baring its fangs. It walked back and forth in the cage, roaring at the people outside, as if it wanted nothing more than to tear open everyone's throats. Mu Hongyan was shocked by the tiger's roar. He looked over and felt the beast nature of the tiger, his heart beating rapidly. This tiger was definitely not a domesticated tiger in the zoo, but a true king of the forest. The elder said with a smile, "In order to celebrate the arrival of Lord Envoy, we have prepared a program." As soon as he finished speaking, A Yuan walked to the front of the main guest seat. The elder pointed at A Yuan and said, "Lord Envoy, he is a warrior from my clan. His name is Yi Yuan, and we all call him A Yuan. Tonight he will perform for Lord Envoy." Hearing that, Yi Yuan proudly raised his head and looked at Tang Zheng with provocation in his eyes. Tang Zheng asked curiously, "What program?" "Sir, you'll know when you see it." The elder purposely acted mysterious and nodded towards Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan turned and walked towards the center of the plaza, towards the cage. Everyone's gaze was attracted by him. The crowd cheered and many people shouted, "Ah Yuan, Yi Yuan, do your best." Yi Yuan walked in front of the cage and opened the door. The tiger pounced towards Yi Yuan. The aura of a king that looked down on the world made one's heart palpitate. Yi Yuan stood in front of the cage, as if his neck was about to be bitten off by the tiger. Please recommend. Chapter 223. The elder stood up angrily and reprimanded loudly, "Ah Yuan, what are you doing? Why aren't you leaving yet?" Yi Yuan remained unmoved. He stared straight at Tang Zheng and said, "Everyone says that Lord Envoy's divine abilities are unparalleled, so I want to ask Lord Envoy for advice." "Nonsense, how can you challenge Lord Envoy?" the elder said. Yi Yuan turned a deaf ear to him and continued to stare at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng secretly sighed. Although he was now the witch clan's envoy in name, There were probably a lot of people like Yi Yuan who were unconvinced in their hearts. Since he was determined to subdue this power, then of course he had to show his strength. Tang Jing stood up and said, "I accept your challenge." The elder said, "Lord Envoy, Yuan is too young, he is not sensible." Tang Jing waved his hand, indicating for him to stop, and said, "Since he wants to challenge me, of course I will accept. However, you have just experienced a great battle, shouldn't you rest first?" "No need, this little battle is nothing at all." Yi Yuan vowed. Tang Jing laughed, walked to the center of the plaza, and faced Yi Yuan. "As long as you defeat me, I will willingly submit to you, be your warrior for life, and charge into battle for you." Yi Yuan was resolute and decisive. "All right, remember your words. Do it." Yi Yuan's movements were very fast, and in the blink of an eye, his huge fist had already arrived in front of Tang Jing, and the air was suddenly compressed by the several hundred kilograms of power, producing a muffled sound. Tang Jing did not move at all. He punched out, his movements were not fast, but before Yi Yuan's fist hit his face, he protected his face. Bang! As the two fists collided, the two of them took a few steps back at the same time. Then, they heard Yi Yuan roar, and with a whoosh, he arrived in front of Tang Jing again. His fist techniques were very simple. They were all straight punches, using the shortest path to attack his opponent. He definitely did not waste any more energy. This was the essence of his fist techniques. Those fancy fist techniques looked good, but their power could not be compared to this most direct fist technique. Yi Yuan's fist techniques were tempered from fighting ferocious beasts time and time again, and were filled with an indomitable killing intent. Tang Jing also gained inspiration from his opponent's fist techniques. He abandoned all unnecessary movements and used the most direct collision. Thus, in the center of the plaza, the two of them punched each other again and again. Their fists struck flesh, and the air spread out in all directions. The muffled sounds were like war drums, causing everyone's blood to boil. Tang Jing was extremely satisfied, as he had never tried this kind of pure strength confrontation before. Each of his punches had over 100 kilograms of strength, and he had also truly experienced the power of the Witch Clan's innate divine strength, which was actually on par with him, a 9th grade Qi refining cultivator. If they could cultivate it, then their strength would be even more. Yuan's face was already flushed red. These repeated collisions caused his blood to boil. He did not expect that his opponent's strength would not lose to his, but he was not afraid. Instead, his blood was boiling, and his fighting spirit was high. He knew that there was no way he could win like this, so he took the opportunity to throw out another punch. Seeing that Tang Jing's fist was about to meet him, he suddenly changed his move and actually hugged Tang Jing's waist. Bang! Tang Jing's fist landed on his back. His body trembled, but he endured it. He hugged Tang Jing's waist and exerted force. Whiz! Tang Jing was like an arrow that had left the bow. Tang Jing was in midair and had nowhere to borrow strength, nor was he able to stop. He could only hear the whistling of the wind in his ears as his body quickly retreated. Whiz! Another figure rushed out at an extremely fast speed. With a tap of his foot, he soared into the air and punched out with both fists, attacking Tang Jing. Tang Jing was in midair. He could only subconsciously punch out, but there was no place to borrow strength, so his strength was obviously not as strong as before. Therefore, with two muffled sounds, Tang Jing flew backwards even faster and fiercely smashed into the stone statue at the side of the plaza. Tang Jing felt that his back was about to fall apart. The impact this time was really not good. This Yi Yuan was really not simple. Seeing that he was about to fall, he grabbed the protrusion of the stone statue and flipped his body to stand in the palm of the stone statue. The stone statue raised one hand, and Tang Jing just happened to land in its palm, looking down at Yi Yuan from above. Plop! With the sound of knees touching the ground, the shamans all knelt down towards Tang Jing. The stone statue was their guardian, and they had been taught since they were young not to be disrespectful to the guardian. As a result, no one had ever dared to climb onto the guardian god's body. However, by chance, Tang Jing stood in the hands of the guardian god. That condescending look added a sense of mystery to his body, causing people to involuntarily feel a sense of reverence, as if he was their guardian god. Tang Jing seemed to understand their mentality, He jumped down and dived towards Yuan. Yuan, who was kneeling on the ground, suddenly raised his head and soared into the air. Bang! This time, Tang Jing did not fly out, but punched Yuan in the chest. Yuan's face turned red, he almost could not catch his breath, and quickly threw out a punch as well. However, this punch was caught by Tang Jing's big hand, and a force of over 100 kilograms was transmitted to Tang Jing's arm, causing his bones to crackle as if they were about to break. Tang Jing endured the pain, his diving momentum did not decrease, and smashed onto the hard ground of the plaza with Yuan. Bang, 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 Tang Jing's fist was like a storm as it landed on Yuan's body. Yuan wanted to resist, but every punch of Tang Jing's was faster than him, causing him to be unable to resist. In the end, he could only take a beating. However, his physique was strong. Even though he had taken so many punches, it was not fatal. Bang! With another punch, Yuan spat out a mouthful of blood, and Tang Jing finally stopped. Tang Jing stood up and floated backwards. Seeing Yuan stagger to his feet, he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Tang Jing with mixed feelings. He had always refused to accept Tang Jing, but this battle made him realize that he was far from being a match for Tang Jing. The people of the Witch clan worshipped the strong, and Yuan, who had been roaming around the 10,000 huge mountains since he was young, worshipped the strong even more. Since Tang Jing had displayed his powerful strength and was also the Lord Envoy, he no longer had any thoughts of resisting. He was sincerely convinced and said with a sonorous voice, "Lord Envoy, from today onwards, I, Yuan, will be your warrior, and I will not change my mind until I die." Tang Jing patted his shoulder and said, "All right, I believe that in the future, you will become one of my most powerful warriors." "Definitely." Yuan clenched his teeth, full of confidence. The applause was thunderous, and the cheers were earth-shattering. The elder walked over, looked at Yuan with gratification, and said, "Now you know how powerful Lord Envoy is, right? In the future, you cannot offend Lord Envoy anymore." "Yes, Yuan will remember." Mu Hongyan was dumbstruck. Her mind was still recalling the intense battle just now. The feeling of her fists hitting her flesh caused her heart to beat faster. Although the Long family was also a martial arts family, she had never had the chance to see such an intense confrontation with her own eyes. She had placed more of her energy on business. This time, she experienced even more how powerful Tang Jing was. Tang Jing was no longer embarrassed to share a bed with Mu Hongyan. The Witch clan had prepared the best room for him to stay in. After daybreak, after breakfast, Tang Jing welcomed the elders and Yuan. Today, they were going to the sacred grounds to search for a way to break the restrictions. "I'm ready. Let's go." Tang Jing stood up and said while holding onto the War Soul sword. The elder nodded and said, "The sacred grounds is still a distance away, so today, only Yuan and I will accompany Lord Envoy." When the few of them went out, they found Mu Hongyan standing at the door next door, staring straight at him, wanting to say something but hesitating. "What's the matter?" Mu Hongyan took a deep breath, feeling rather nervous. In the past, even when facing anyone, she did not feel this way, but now that she was facing Tang Jing, she could not help but feel this way. "Can I go with you?" She gradually became interested in this mysterious witch clan. In fact, a strong woman like her had an adventurous spirit in her bones. This kind of adventurous spirit used to be displayed in the business world, but now that she had come to this vast 10,000 huge mountains, her adventurous spirit had merged with this piece of land. Moreover, she did not want to leave Tang Jing. Although no one here would hurt her, she had subconsciously developed a kind of attachment to Tang Jing. Tang Jing turned his head to look at the elders. At the elders' meeting, he nodded and said, "Sure, we can protect her." Since the elder said so, then Tang Jing did not have any objections. "Then come with us." Mu Hongyan was overjoyed, the corner of her mouth curved up, looking extremely flirtatious. 4 tall horses stood quietly in the square. Among them, the tallest white horse was particularly eye-catching. This horse's hair was pure white, without a trace of impurities. The horse's head was raised high, and it was rebellious. The elder explained, "We will be able to ride faster. We should be able to reach the sacred grounds by noon." "I don't know how to ride a horse." Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan said at the same time that the people in the city were used to traveling by car, so how could they know how to ride a horse? The elder obviously did not expect this, but he did not mind. Riding a horse is very simple. I believe that Lord Envoy will know it once he sees it. With that said, Yi Yuan skillfully mounted the horse and demonstrated. This heavenly horse is your mount, sir. The elder pointed at the tall white horse and said, Heavenly horse? Yes, the heavenly horse is one of the most precious mounts in the world. Our witch clan raised a few in the past, but until now, there is only this one. Only the heavenly horse is worthy of your esteemed status, sir. The elder said, This heavenly horse is still in its infancy and can only travel 1,000 miles a day. When it reaches adulthood in the future, it will be able to travel freely and fight together with you, sir. Tang Zheng saw that the heavenly horse was definitely a peerless horse. Thus, with a tap of his foot, he soared into the air and sat on the back of the heavenly horse. The heavenly horse hissed, its front hooves soared into the air, its body almost standing up straight. Tang Zheng quickly grabbed onto the reins, his legs tightly clamping onto the horse's abdomen, preventing himself from falling. The heavenly horse obviously did not like being ridden. It spread out its 4 hooves and jumped up, wanting to throw Tang Zheng off. Tang Zheng's competitive spirit was also aroused. He thought to himself that if he could not even tame a beast, wouldn't that make people laugh their heads off? Thus, he clamped his legs tightly and hugged the horse's head with both hands, preventing it from moving. The huge force caused the heavenly horse to feel pain, and it kept screaming, but its cries became weaker and weaker, until it finally quieted down. Only then did Tang Zheng release his hands and legs. Congratulations, sir, for subduing the heavenly horse. The elder said. Mu Hongyan was also incomparably excited. Although she did not know how to ride a horse, she was still a rich person after all. She had seen many people who raised horses and loved them, and those horses could not be compared to the heavenly horse at all. The elder also jumped onto his own seat. Only Mu Hongyan did not dare to get on the horse. She did not have Tang Zheng's skills, so it would not be good if she fell down with a bloody nose and a swollen face. Tang Zheng saw through her thoughts and extended his hand. If you don't mind, then sit with me. Mu Hongyan was secretly delighted. He reached out and grabbed Tang Zheng's hand, then felt himself flying up and landing steadily on the horse's back. She was in front, Tang Zheng was behind, and Tang Zheng was holding onto the reins with both hands, protecting her in his embrace. Chapter 224. Tang Zheng had never thought that he would have such an experience. The heavenly horse moved as if it was flying, its 4 hooves soared into the air, as if it was riding on the clouds, but every time it landed on the ground, it was very stable. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan did not feel any bumps at all. Book group, this is even more comfortable than a car. Mu Hongyan leaned into his embrace. Previously, she was a little embarrassed, but as she gradually became more familiar with him, the awkwardness disappeared. This is the real convertible sports car. Tang Zheng joked. Mu Hongyan covered her mouth and chuckled, but her eyes were exceptionally bright. The feeling that she had never experienced before made her feel extremely novel. Every pore in her body opened up, and every cell became active. Suddenly, Tang Zheng, who was running at the front, pulled on the reins, and the horse immediately stopped. The elder also pulled on the horse's head, and the horse's body was raised high. The heavenly horse did not even need Tang Zheng to pull on the reins and stopped by itself. It was extremely stable. There's miasma up ahead, Yi Yuan said in a deep voice. He was not nervous at all. Living in the 10,000 huge mountains, the miasma followed them like a shadow. It would not cause them to be afraid at all. The elder handed over a porcelain bottle to Tang Zheng and said, Lord Envoy, after consuming a detoxification pill, you will not be afraid of this miasma. Tang Zheng poured out 1 pill each with Mu Hongyan. This small pill was able to dissolve the poison of the miasma, causing Mu Hongyan to find it hard to believe. She had lived in southern Yunnan for more than 20 years and had been influenced since she was young. However, she had never heard of a medicine that could completely dissolve the poison of the miasma. However, when he thought of the miraculous black jade bone ointment from before, this detoxification pill did not seem to be difficult to accept. The two of them consumed it, and their bodies did not feel any discomfort. The elder and Yi Yuan also consumed it, and the elder explained, "Back then, when our clansmen were just imprisoned here, many of our clansmen died under this miasma. Later on, an ancestor developed this detoxification pill, and only then could we ensure that our clansmen were not poisoned by the miasma." "That ancestor must be a genius doctor," Mu Hongyan said. The elder revealed a smile. "Of course, this ancestor is very kind and has saved many of our people." The elder and Yi Yuan gave their respective mounts another detoxification pill. Tang Zheng followed suit and stuffed one into the heaven horse's mouth. Unexpectedly, the beast smelled it, snorted, and turned its head away. It actually did not eat it, as if it was disgusted. The elder said, "Lord Envoy, the heavenly horse has a special physique and is not afraid of this miasma." Tang Zheng's eyes lit up and he said, "It's immune to all poisons." The elder said, "Although we can't say that it is immune to all poisons, the miasma's poison is indeed no threat to it." Tang Zheng had no choice but to size it up again. This beast actually raised its head high and glanced at Tang Zheng, as if to say, "You country bumpkin, you actually don't know my ability." Tang Zheng did not know whether to laugh or cry. He was actually looked down upon by a horse. If word got out, others would think that he was crazy, but that gaze just now was clearly filled with undisguised contempt. "Forget it, I won't lower myself to the level of a horse." Tang Zheng pretended not to see it. The three horses continued to gallop, their surroundings filled with a white mist. This was the miasma. It looked like a white mist, but in reality, it contained a highly toxic poison, and if one inhaled too much, it would be fatal. But at this moment, the few of them were safe and sound within the miasma. It was truly miraculous. Above their heads were towering trees that covered the sky and the sun. Only sporadic rays of sunlight shone through the gaps. Only the sound of horse hooves stepping on the ground could be heard in the forest. After advancing for a long time, the miasma disappeared. The few of them stopped again, because in front of them was a large swamp that ate people without spitting out bones. The swamp is even more troublesome than the miasma. The elder frowned and said in disgust, "No matter if it is a human or a beast, as long as they fall into the swamp, most of them will not survive." Back then, Lord Envoy was able to hold on because he had a magic treasure protecting him. Tang Zheng understood, but Mu Hongyan could not help but look at the War Soul sword on his waist. This unassuming black sword was actually a magic treasure. "Then how do we get there?" Tang Zheng asked. "Master, please be patient. Of course we have a way." The elder gestured to Yi Yuan, who immediately came to the edge of the swamp and jumped towards a pile of weeds. Mu Hongyan opened his eyes wide in shock. That was a swamp. If he jumped down, he would not be able to survive. However, Tang Zheng was not worried at all. Sure enough, Yi Yuan jumped into the weeds and did not sink. A long bamboo pole appeared in his hand, and with a push, a huge wooden raft slid over. "We'll use this to cross the swamp." The elder skillfully led his mount onto the wooden raft. The wooden raft was big enough to accommodate 3 horses and 4 people. As the few of them boarded the raft, Mu Hongyan was obviously a little afraid. He stood closely beside Tang Zheng, as if he was afraid that he would fall. Tang Zheng comforted her, "Don't be afraid." Mu Hongyan forced out a smile, but his face was a little pale. It was obvious that he was still afraid, but he did not dare to openly grab onto Tang Zheng, so he could only try his best to get close to him. There was a stench in the swamp, and there were also the corpses of wild beasts that had not completely rotted. It was a little creepy. Tang Zheng, the elder, and Tang Zheng's expressions remained the same. Only Mu Hongyan covered his mouth as he got closer and closer to Tang Zheng. In the end, he simply leaned his entire body on him. She had been sitting in the office all year round, so when had she ever been in such a harsh environment? Naturally, fear would arise in her heart. Seeing her trembling and her face becoming paler and paler, Tang Zheng bitterly smiled to himself. "Why did you have to suffer with me? But this is not the way to go." What if something bad really happens to you? Thus, he took the opportunity to wrap his arms around her shoulders. Mu Hongyan's body tensed up, and then she leaned into his embrace. A strong sense of security filled her heart, dispelling the fear in her heart. She raised her eyes and glanced at him, only to discover that he was looking straight ahead, his eyes deep and steady, completely lacking the frivolity of his age. Seeing that he had retracted his gaze, she hurriedly lowered her head, afraid to look him in the eye, but she did not have the courage to leave his embrace. The elder and Yi Yuan pretended not to see anything. Yi Yuan focused on supporting the raft, while the elder focused on a mountain peak that protruded out from the distance. The mountain was not very tall, but it was fiery red. The leaves were like burning flames, and even the tree trunks were fiery red. Moreover, all the different types of trees had the same color, fiery red, a bewitching red. Tang Zheng also saw the mountain peak that looked like flames, and asked curiously, "Could that be the sacred ground?" The elder retracted his gaze and nodded, "Yes, the sacred ground is like a flame that can burn away all the sins in the world." "Why are they all fiery red?" The elder shook his head. "This is the magical part of the sacred ground. Ever since I was born, the sacred ground has been this color, and it has never changed throughout the year." Tang Zheng was extremely curious. The color of the leaves should have changed with the change of the seasons, but the trees in the sacred ground did not change at all. It was truly magical. However, since it was the witch clan's sacred ground, there would naturally be many magical things about it. The raft finally stopped, and the few of them arrived at the edge of the swamp. They got off the raft and rode their horses forward. Although the sacred ground was right in front of them, it still took them nearly an hour to arrive at the edge of the sacred ground, at the foot of the fiery red mountain peak. Mu Hongyan was completely shocked by the mountain peak. He was flabbergasted as he stared blankly at the mountain peak. Even Tang Zheng could not hide his surprise. This mountain was about 1,000 meters tall. Not only were the trees fiery red, even the weeds on the ground, the soil, and the stones were red. This is too magical. Mu Hongyan could be considered to be well-informed. He had been to many places in the world for tourism, but he had never seen such a magical scene. "Lord Envoy, let's eat some dry food first. Only after eating will we have the strength to climb the mountain. This is the sacred ground. We can't ride horses, we can only walk. This is our respect for the sacred ground," the elder said solemnly. After the few of them had lunch, they led their horses up the mountain. The mountain was not steep, and after a while, they finally reached the top of the mountain. It gave them the illusion that they were in flames, and the evil thoughts in their hearts were about to be refined by this fiery red. At the top of the mountain, a huge cave appeared in front of them. A wave of heat was emitted from the cave. "Lord Envoy, we can only accompany you up to here. The rest will depend on you alone. This is the core of the sacred ground, and the people of the witch clan have been forbidden from entering for generations. Only you, sir, have the privilege to enter," the elder said solemnly. Tang Zheng asked in confusion, "Since you've always said that the method to break through the restrictions is in this cave, why haven't you thought of going in to investigate all these years?" The elder hurriedly shook his head like a rattle drum and said firmly, "The witch clan will not violate the rules set by their ancestors. Moreover, since it is said that only you, sir, can find a way to break through the restrictions, then it is useless for us to enter." Tang Zheng could not help but want to roll his eyes. The witch clan was really stubborn. They had been trapped here for so many years, and it was said that the method to break through the restrictions was inside the cave, but they did not take even half a step out of the lightning pool. Mu Hongyan really wanted to continue following him to investigate, but since the elder said that only Tang Zheng could go down alone, she tactfully did not follow him. She nodded towards Tang Zheng, encouraging him to do his best. Tang Zheng smiled knowingly and joked, "Then I'll go in alone, there won't be any man-eating beasts inside, right?" The elder said with a blank face, "We don't know either. Lord Envoy, the hope of our witch clan is in your hands." Tang Zheng felt the burden on his shoulders instantly become much heavier. He retracted his smile, nodded his head seriously, and walked into the cave with large strides. A blazing wave of air rushed towards his face, and the temperature suddenly rose. The inside of the cave was also fiery red, and the walls of the cave were suffused with a strange red light, illuminating his path forward. He walked with his head held high, and after a while, he had already walked a few hundred meters. He could no longer see the scene outside the cave. The surroundings were completely silent, and there was no movement at all. He suddenly remembered that there was no movement around him when he was climbing the mountain. This mountain was like a dead mountain. Other than plants, there were no animals, not even insects. It was so strange that it made one's heart palpitate. Chapter 225. After walking straight for a distance, the cave slanted downwards, as if there was no end to it. Only the heat wave in his face was getting stronger and stronger. Tang Zheng frowned, his nerves tensed up, the war soul sword in his hand glowed with a black light, forming a sharp contrast with the red light around him. Suddenly, the view in front of them opened up. They arrived at a huge stone hall. There was a huge pool in the middle of the hall, but it wasn't water. Instead, it was boiling red lava. The boiling hot air turned the stone hall into a huge furnace. Tang Zheng immediately channeled his energy to counteract the heat. The pure yang energy in his body was also agitated by the surging heat. Fortunately, the dantian stored the pure yin energy, and traces of the pure yin energy flowed through his meridians, suppressing the restless pure yang energy. Tang Zheng did not dare to be careless. This place was too strange. If it really detonated his pure yang energy, it would be terrible. He walked to the side of the pool, only to discover that there was a huge arc protruding out of the churning lava. Tang Zheng was shocked. He could not tell what material it was, but the lava could not harm it at all. Steel will also melt in this lava. What is this thing that is actually not afraid of such a high temperature? Only half of this protrusion was exposed. It was circular in shape and looked very much like an egg. Yes, it was like an egg, and half of it was exposed outside. This egg was the size of a basketball, and there were actually many complicated patterns on its surface. Tang Zheng's head moved. These patterns were similar to the ones on the plaza. Could it be that this egg was the key to breaking the restriction? However, after studying for a long time, he still found nothing. In the end, he had no choice but to give up and continue searching the stone hall to see if there were any other clues. With just a glance, he found some clues. There were actually many small words carved on the wall. Primal Chaos Vajra Spell. Tang Zheng saw the name of this cultivation technique at first glance. This cultivation technique was specially created for the sorcerer tribe to temper their bodies. Moreover, when this cultivation technique was practiced to the extreme, one's body would be as tough as a diamond, and one's body would not be destroyed. Tang Zheng had originally wanted to temper his body, and this cultivation method was very suitable for him. Moreover, there were no cultivation methods in the sorcerer tribe, and most of the methods to temper the body were through medicinal refinement. If he gave this cultivation method to the sorcerer tribe's power would definitely increase greatly. After the cultivation technique, there was a huge mural. It was vivid and lifelike. On the mural, there was a man and an egg. Yes, this egg was the same as the one in the pond. Even the veined patterns on it were exactly the same. There were 9 lines drawn on the man's body. The man covered the egg with his hands, and the egg shone brightly. Then, a ball of white light broke out of the shell. What's the meaning of this? What is this white light? Tang Zheng stared straight at the egg, then looked at the picture for a while as if deep in thought. Could it be that I have to follow the method of the person in the picture? There are 9 lines in this person's body. Could it be that they symbolize the 9 main meridians? Tang Zheng could not think of a better way, and the elder had solemnly said that only he could break the restriction, so he could only give it a try. However, the egg was in the middle of the pool, and even if he wanted to follow the instructions on the mural, he could not reach it. What should he do? Suddenly, his gaze fell on the War Soul Sword. With a thought, he hurriedly channeled his energy to protect the War Soul Sword. Then, he slowly inserted the War Soul Sword into the magma. Gulp. Fiery red bubbles appeared around the War Soul Sword. The War Soul Sword immediately glowed with a black light, but it was not damaged at all. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. The War Soul Sword had a large amount of yin qi, so it was obvious that it could withstand the rolling magma. Tang Zheng pointed his foot, holding the sword with one hand, he soared into the air and rushed towards the egg. Seeing that he was about to fall into the magma, he suddenly made his move. The War Soul Sword pointed at the magma, and with the help of the rebound force, his body soared into the air and finally arrived above the egg. He hurriedly inserted the War Soul Sword into his waist and landed upside down. His hands covered the egg, as this was the only way to achieve the appearance shown in the mural. The moment his hand touched the egg, a red light shone, and the mysterious patterns on the egg also glowed. A huge suction force drilled out from the egg, and the innate qi in his body surged and was sucked into the egg. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He wanted to withdraw his hand, but it was too late. The suction force was too terrifying, and it was not something he could resist. Holy shit! What's going on? This egg seems to have some sort of star-sucking ability. It can actually absorb my Jin Qi. Tang Zheng had never heard of such a situation before. His expression changed greatly. Was he going to be sucked dry? Hiss hiss suddenly, a surge of blazing energy flowed from the egg into his body. His entire body felt like it was boiling. The pure yang energy had finally been activated. Ah! He let out a blood-curdling scream as his entire body felt like it was on fire. The agitated pure yang energy seemed to want to break through his meridians. At this time, the accumulated pure yin energy began to move. Tang Zheng hurriedly circulated his energy, and the pure yin energy and the pure yang energy were neutralized. Only then did his pain slightly subside. He was sweating profusely as he stared at the egg. He discovered that the patterns on the egg were spinning rapidly, and the red light was gradually dissipating. Bang! A powerful force came from the egg, and he was sent flying. He flew across the pond and landed on the ground, staggering. Tang Zheng found that his body was empty. His Jin Qi had been sucked dry. Holy shit, this egg is a bottomless pit. Tang Zheng wanted to cry but had no tears. Fortunately, his body did not suffer any major damage. Hey, how did the pure yang energy increase so much? Tang Zheng could clearly feel the surging power of the pure yang energy. This must be the heat from the egg transforming into pure yang energy. Tang Zheng wanted to cry but had no tears. He originally wanted to suppress the pure yang energy. Now that the pure yang energy was increasing, he felt his body temperature increase a little. Moreover, there was not much pure yin energy left in his dantian. He did not have time to sigh at the changes in his body. He stared at the egg from afar. Didn't the mural say that the egg would crack? Then, a white light would rise. But after waiting for a long time, the egg did not have the slightest reaction. What's going on? Did I not absorb enough Jin Qi? Tang Zheng seemed to be deep in thought, but I don't have any more Jin Qi in my body, so it's useless to stay here. Why don't I go back and ask the elders first? Returning the way he came, his speed was much slower. After all, there was no more Jin Qi in his body. This was equivalent to him having just experienced a great battle, and his losses were too great. After a long time, he finally reached the entrance of the cave and discovered that the three elders were stretching their necks to look into the cave. When they saw Tang Zheng, they all revealed excited expressions. "Elder, I'm sorry I didn't succeed," Tang Zheng said regretfully. However, the elder did not mind and said excitedly, "Lord Envoy, you are too amazing." Tang Zheng was baffled. He did not even succeed. What was so great about it? As if he could see through his doubts, the elder pointed into the distance and said, "Lord Envoy, look." Looking over, he saw a ray of light shooting into the sky from the direction of the plaza. It rose into the air, and then there seemed to be a huge glass cover in the air. This ray of light merged with the glass cover. What's going on? Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. The elder explained, "This is to weaken the power of the restriction. Although I do not know what Lord Envoy is doing inside, I am sure that you have triggered this change." This ray of light rose from the plaza because the plaza has a mysterious connection with the Holy Land. In addition, I can already feel that the power of the restriction has been weakened. Yi Yuan was also extremely excited. His gaze towards Tang Zheng was filled with passion. At this moment he no longer doubted that Tang Zheng could remove the restriction. Mu Hongyan's eyes were also filled with splendor. This series of events had exceeded her imagination, especially that ray of light that soared into the sky. It was like a scene from a myth. And all of this was caused by Tang Zheng. If it was any other woman, they would feel that it was extremely new and exciting. Tang Zheng's heart moved. Could it be that the egg had absorbed his innate qi, and then it could weaken the restriction? This was too magical. Lord Envoy, what's inside? Yi Yuan could not help but ask curiously. The other two also looked at Tang Zheng curiously. The elder said, "If it's not convenient to say, Lord Envoy, you don't have to say it." Tang Zheng shook his head. He originally wanted to ask the other party, so he told them what he had seen and heard, causing the shock on their faces to become even more intense. Chaotic Vajra spell? You're saying that there's a chaotic Vajra spell inside? The elder was so excited that his hands were trembling. This is the supreme cultivation technique of my witch clan. It has been lost for who knows how many years. I never thought that it would actually be kept in the sacred ground. I'll write down the cultivation technique for you when I get back. When Tang Zheng heard that this was actually the witch clan's supreme technique, he could not help but feel a rush of excitement. However, although this technique was mystical, if they did not break the restrictions, they would not be able to cultivate it. Back then, the ancestors of the witch clan might have considered this and simply hid the primal chaos Vajra spell in the sacred grounds. Thank you, Lord Envoy. You are truly the savior of my witch clan. The elder was so excited that he wanted to kneel down again. Tang Zheng hurriedly supported him. This old man's etiquette was a bit too much. Do you know anything about that egg? Tang Zheng asked. The elder shook his head. There have never been any records of this in the witch clan, but since it is recorded in the mural, it must be the key to breaking the restriction. Perhaps your guess is right. Only when it absorbs enough innate qi will it be able to break the egg, and that will be the time when the restriction is completely broken. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh. But my current cultivation is obviously not enough to do that. We have waited for so many years, so we are not in a hurry. I believe that your power will definitely increase by leaps and bounds, and then you will be able to break the restriction. The elder was full of confidence. The few of them returned the way they came. When they returned to the plaza, the light had already disappeared, and all the clansmen gathered in the plaza were kneeling in the direction of the sacred ground. However, the gazes of Tang Zheng and the others were not attracted by these people. Their gazes landed on the gigantic stone statue, which had undergone a huge change. Chapter 226. The gigantic stone statue was no longer in its original position. Furthermore, the postures of each stone statue were different as well. Sogu 360, so-so. Quick update, no ads, coming soon. The stone statue moved. How could such a gigantic stone statue move? When the witch clansmen saw that they had returned, they all started to talk at once. It turned out that when the ray of light shot into the sky, the 4 stone statues seemed to have come to life and started to move, changing into their current positions and postures. Tang Zheng was dumbstruck. He had originally thought that the stone statue was a dead object, but now he knew that it could actually move. Stones also have life? Tang Zheng felt that his brain could not process what was going on. However, the elder said excitedly, "The guardian god has appeared. This shows that the restriction is about to be broken." When everyone heard this, they were so excited that they could not control themselves. They all looked at Tang Zheng eagerly. However, Tang Zheng's expression was not as optimistic as theirs. That egg was a bottomless pit. He did not know how much innate qi he would need to fill it up, so he did not have absolute confidence when he would be able to break the restriction. Furthermore, he and Mu Hongyan had fallen off the cliff for so many days, and his family must be very anxious, so he had to hurry back as soon as possible and come back here in the future. Shui. When Tang Zheng finished transcribing the chaotic Vajra spell and told the elder about his decision, the elder's expression obviously darkened as he asked nervously, "Sir Envoy, when will you be back after you leave?" Since there was still a month or two before the summer vacation, Why not take this opportunity to settle the matter of the witch clan? Although he did not find Mu Hongyan's husband's magic treasure, the matter of the witch clan was still a huge discovery. Furthermore, the spirit energy here was abundant. Wouldn't it be better to bring Shirshir here to cultivate? Elder, you don't have to worry. Wait for me to go back and take care of some personal matters, then we will come back. At that time, we will focus on breaking the restrictions for the witch clan. The elder felt a little regretful, but he did not stop him. He nodded and said, "Then our witch clan will wait for Lord Envoy to return." After a night of silence, both Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan were a little excited. They woke up at dawn, and the elders and Yuan were waiting outside the door. "Lord Envoy, Yuan will bring you away." Tang Zheng nodded. Both parties bid each other farewell and left on their horses. Passing through layers of miasma and swamps, the three of them arrived at the edge of the 100,000 mountains when it was dark. Yuan stopped, looked at Tang Zheng and said, "Lord Envoy, our entire clan is waiting for you to return and bring us out of this place. Don't worry, I'll be back as soon as possible." Tang Zheng promised. Both parties waved goodbye. Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan rode on the heavenly horse and left the vast mountain. Mu Hongyan looked back. This period of time was like a dream, making people feel that it was so unreal. Tang Zheng, the witch clan is really pitiful. They have been trapped in the mountains for generations. You must help them leave this place. Mu Hongyan said emotionally. Tang Zheng said, "Of course I will bring them out of this place. But this time when we go back, we must not let anyone else know about the existence of the witch clan." Mu Hongyan's heart skipped a beat. The witch clan was too mysterious. If the outside world found out, it would definitely cause a huge uproar and bring disaster to the witch clan. "I understand. The witch clan saved me, so of course I will think for them." Mu Hongyan agreed. The two of them compared their statements again and found a set of excuses. They said that both sides were saved by the dense branches that covered the sky, but they lost their way in the forest and spent so many days to walk out of the vast mountains. Of course, the heavenly horse was the wild horse they found by chance in the mountains. "Who do you think is the one who tried to assassinate us this time? Is the target you or me?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. Mu Hongyan was silent. She had thought about this question many times in the past few days. She had an illustrious identity and had been assassinated before, but this was the first time in Dianan. After all, this was the Long family's headquarters, and no one would dare to make a move against her. Tang Zheng originally suspected that it was the assassins of the martial sect, but those assassins were obviously too weak. They were definitely not from the martial sect, and this was not the style of the martial sect, so he also denied it. No matter how much the two of them guessed, they would never have thought that all of this was arranged by Long Tinyu. Outside the mountain was a large suburb of the city. The night wind blew and the two of them galloped. Mu Hongyan could not help but feel a sense of transmigration. He subconsciously opened his hands and embraced the night wind that blew against his face. At this moment, although it was already late, there were still a few residents in the suburbs. When they saw a man and a woman galloping on their horses, they could not help but wonder if their eyes were playing tricks on them. The sound of horse hooves faded into the distance, leaving behind an unforgettable scene for these people. In the darkness of the night, the heavenly horse could actually distinguish the road. Its four hooves flew as it dashed towards the lights of the city in the distance. More than an hour later, they arrived at the edge of the city. The brilliant lights illuminated the road ahead and completely exposed their tracks. The heavenly horse raised its head high and looked at the unfamiliar city. The unfamiliar scene made it faintly excited. It screamed and ran away. Immediately, a shocking scene was born. On the wide road, a tall white horse carried a man and a woman. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful as they galloped forward. There were many cars on the road. When the owner of the car saw this scene, he could not help but be surprised. Who was it that came out to walk their horses in the middle of the night? Moreover, this horse. It was really handsome and extraordinary. Even an outsider could tell that it was a real good horse. Whiz! The heavenly horse was like a gust of wind as it shuttled through the traffic. It even lowered its head to look at the cars beside it. It seemed to treat these iron shells as opponents as it quickly overtook one car after another. The owner of the car was stunned. Could it be that the horse wanted to race with the car? Some of the owners had already increased the throttle to keep pace with the heavenly horse. The heavenly horse was infuriated by such a provocative action. It raised its front hooves high and almost stood up with the two people on its back. Mu Hongyan cried out in alarm and leaned tightly into Tang Zheng's embrace. However, Tang Zheng could sense the intentions of this beast, so it was fine. Since the elder had praised the heavenly horse so much, then he might as well experience its speed today. What was the speed of an arrow leaving the bow? The heavenly horse's speed was the best explanation. It kicked backwards, and the tall horse's body soared into the air. It was as if it was riding on the clouds, and it actually jumped over a moving car. It steadily landed on the ground, scaring the owner so much that he hurriedly braked. The heavenly horse neighed proudly. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had left a few cars behind and was far ahead. Suddenly, the roar of an engine rang out. A sports car rushed out and arrived beside the heavenly horse. It was obvious that it wanted to compete with the heavenly horse. Tang Zheng was in high spirits as he patted the back of the heavenly horse and said, "Do you have the confidence to beat him?" The heavenly horse snorted proudly and turned its head to look at the owner of the sports car. The owner of the sports car thought that his eyes were playing tricks on him. He was actually looked down upon by a beast. He fiercely pressed the horn a few times in response, as if he was roaring. Tang Zheng laughed involuntarily. He understood the other party's feelings very well. Wasn't he also despised by the heavenly horse back then? This beast was very arrogant. Whiz whiz. The horse and the car began to compete. There were not many cars on the road, and the heavenly horse took advantage of the opportunity to advance forward. It had already soared into the air and flew over many roofs. The sports car was like a ghost, moving at a very fast speed, closely keeping pace with the heavenly horse. This scene caused all the car owners on the road to be dumbstruck. Many people stopped their cars and used their phones to record this scene that was hard to come by in 100 years. Both sides were very fast, and in a short while, they had left the other cars far behind. Suddenly, the heavenly horse turned its head to look at the sports car, as if it also felt that the speed of this iron box was not slow. Its eyes burned with fighting spirit, and it actually increased its speed again, instantly leaving the sports car a few meters behind. Mu Hongyan had sat in many luxury cars, but she had never had such a high-speed experience on the road, let alone sitting on the back of a horse. As the heavenly horse moved forward, she couldn't help but shout out loud. Tang Zheng could clearly feel the trembling of every cell in her body. That unprecedented experience was enough to make anyone feel satisfied. This was like riding a roller coaster. The more exciting it was, the more scared it was, and the more excited it was. Tang Zheng hugged her tightly, not allowing her to be thrown out. Seeing that the sports car had caught up again, Tang Zheng patted the horse's back and said, "Faster, completely shake off this tail." The heavenly horse seemed to understand his words and suddenly sped up. In front of them was the downtown area, and there were many people and cars. When many people saw a tall white horse rushing over, they subconsciously dodged. In fact, there was no need for them to dodge at all. The heavenly horse accurately controlled the landing point and would not hurt anyone. The speed of the sports car obviously slowed down. There was no other way, there were too many cars. No matter how good his driving skills were, no matter how powerful the sports car was, it couldn't fly. So after chasing for a while, he could only watch the back of the white horse disappear from his sight. He unwillingly slapped the steering wheel to vent his frustration of failure. The video of the race between the car and the horse, and the white horse's victory over the sports car, was spread to the internet. Many people were shocked by the white horse's heroic appearance, and even more people participated in the discussion about who exactly the man and woman sitting on the horse were, to actually have such a BMW. Many young girls stared blankly at the back of Tang Zheng. The woman sitting in his embrace was too happy, it was simply like a dream fairy tale. What was Prince Charming? This was Prince Charming. At that moment, Tang Zheng did not know that he had a name on the internet, Prince Charming. He had become the dream lover of many girls, and many girls even asked their boyfriends to ride a tall white horse to propose to them before they were willing to marry him. Tang Zheng did not know that his unintentional actions had actually added so much burden to the male compatriots of the world. Fortunately, the heavenly horse was too fast, and there was only a blurry back view in those videos. It was impossible to see his face clearly, otherwise, he would have become the public enemy of the male compatriots wherever he went. Tang Zheng was not in the mood to pay attention to all of this, because they had already returned to the lakeside villa, but Fang Shishir was not here. It was said that she had been picked up by someone. Chapter 227. The news of Tang Zheng and Mu Hongyan's return immediately reached the Long family. Long Xianyuan immediately asked the two of them to go to the Long family. He wanted to find out what was going on. During this period of time, the real culprit behind the scenes had not been found, and Long Xuanyuan's anger was burning more and more. Although the assassin was a foreign force, he had no place to investigate. However, he aimed the spearhead at the cold-faced killer, Xiao Xiaoling. Xiao Xiaoling killed Wang Fuchuan, and he wanted to know who was the real culprit behind the scenes. Just like Long Tingyu said, the assassination of Mu Hongyan might also be arranged by the real culprit. However, Xiao Xiaoling seemed to have disappeared into thin air. No one knew where he was, but everyone believed that as long as he showed up, he would definitely not be able to escape the eyes of the Long family. The two of them were preparing to go to the Long family when suddenly, Tang Zheng felt a strong uneasiness. Something happened to Shishir. He sensed that the Imperial Spirit Array in the Jade Buddha that he had given to Fang Shishir had been activated. Only when Fang Shishir was in danger would the Imperial Spirit Array be activated. Shishir is in danger, I'll go save her first. Tang Zheng turned over and mounted his horse. Without waiting for Mu Hongyan to react, he urged the horse to gallop. Mu Hongyan was shocked. How could Fang Shishir be in danger? She immediately contacted Long Xianyuan, hoping that the Long family would mobilize their power to find the whereabouts of Fang Shishir. Mu Hongyan and Tang Zheng had experienced this ordeal and understood even more about Tang Zheng's extraordinariness. Therefore, if Fang Shishir had an accident in Dianan, it would definitely arouse the disgust of Tang Zheng. Although Tang Zheng's current strength was not that heaven-defying, offending him was definitely not a good thing. His potential was limitless, and no one knew how far he could go in the future. Actually, they did not need to track down Fang Shishir's whereabouts, because Tang Zheng had already used the tracking technique to track down her location. This time, Fang Shishir was not facing an ordinary danger. Tang Zheng had already sensed that the Jade Buddha had been destroyed. The Jade Buddha would not be destroyed by ordinary attacks, which meant that the enemy was an expert. Tang Zheng spurred his horse and galloped straight to a luxurious restaurant. When this tall horse entered the restaurant, the waiter was so shocked that he forgot to stop it. He dismounted from his horse and walked towards a private room with a gloomy face. Finally, a waiter came forward to stop him. Tang Zheng did not even look at him as he walked straight towards his destination. The Pegasus snorted and looked down at the dumbfounded diners. Then, it followed Tang Zheng and walked forward. It was extremely arrogant. When it encountered a table, it lifted its hooves and directly kicked it away. This man and horse were both filled with power, exuding an aura that warned others not to get close. "Stop right there." Suddenly, an angry roar sounded. The two burly men at the door blocked Tang Zheng's path. Bang bang. Tang Zheng made his move like lightning. Without giving the other party a chance to react, the burly man flew out and smashed into a nearby table, causing waves of screams. Tang Zheng raised his leg, and the tightly shut door was immediately kicked flying. The scene inside the private room could be seen clearly. Fang Shishir was leaning against the corner of the wall, and the other person was actually Long Tingyu. He was looking at Fang Shishir in shock, and shouted, "You are a cultivator." When the two of them heard the commotion at the door, they turned their heads at the same time. When they saw the person at the door clearly, they cried out in alarm at the same time. "Tang Zheng!" Fang Shishir opened his eyes wide in disbelief, and stared at Tang Zheng in a daze. These days were the most difficult time of her life, but she firmly believed that Tang Jing would not leave her like this. Therefore, even if everyone else thought that Tang Jing had no chance of survival, and even Li Xiaotian, who was very interested in Tang Jing, left without saying goodbye, she still chose to stay in Dianan, hoping that one day he would come back to find her. At this moment, Tang Jing appeared in front of her alive, which made her both surprised and happy. Her insistence was right, and he really came back safe and sound. The stone hanging in her heart finally fell to the ground. She really wanted to cry out loud, especially when she thought of the grievances she had suffered just now. Previously, Long Tingyu had sent someone to inform her that there was news of Tang Jing, so she couldn't wait to come here. She didn't expect that this was all a scam, and Long Tingyu had finally revealed his true colors. He actually wanted to take advantage of her. Long Tingyu could be said to be the crown prince of Dianan. The woman he had taken a fancy to had never escaped from his grasp, except for Mu Hongyan. This time, he had specially tricked Fang Shishir to come here. Firstly, it was to take revenge on Tang Jing, and secondly, it was because Fang Shishir was indeed beautiful enough. He didn't even go directly to the hotel. Instead, he had someone bring him to this luxurious restaurant. Long Tingyu was a person who liked sentiment. He had originally planned to take her to the hotel after eating, but he didn't expect Fang Shishir to be so smart. She repeatedly asked about Tang Jing's whereabouts, and seeing that the other party had been perfunctory, she knew that something was wrong. She immediately got up and left, but how could Long Tingyu let the cooked duck fly away? Thus, he simply revealed his true detestable face and planned to directly deal with Fang Shishir in the private room. Fang Shishir's reaction was very intense, but Long Tingyu was, after all, an 8th grade body refining realm cultivator, much stronger than Fang Shishir. After a while, he activated the spirit controlling array in the Jade Buddha, and because his attack was too powerful, the Jade Buddha directly shattered into a few pieces. Long Tingyu's anger grew even stronger. He had even sent people to kill Tang Jing. Could it be that he couldn't even deal with a woman of his? Thus, he immediately launched an attack. Fang Shishir was not his match, and was surrounded by danger. In the end, he had no choice but to use the body-securing technique. This time, she didn't even let the other party get close to her before using the body-securing technique. This time, Long Tingyu finally discovered some clues. When Tang Jing kicked the door in, he just happened to hear Long Tingyu say, "You are a cultivator." Tang Jing's nerves instantly tensed up. Shishir's identity as a cultivator had been exposed. His eyes immediately burst out with a terrifying cold light, filled with killing intent. Long Tingyu looked at Tang Jing in disbelief, and said, "Why aren't you dead?" "Of course I won't die. If you dare to have any ideas about my girlfriend, then today will be the day you die," Tang Jing said while gnashing his teeth. Long Tingyu gradually calmed down from his initial shock, and said disdainfully, "My death? You were lucky last time, but this time you came to provoke me again. It should be your death. Furthermore, your girlfriend is a cultivator. This is a huge secret. I think the people from the martial sect will be very interested. Even if I don't kill you, it will be difficult for you to escape the pursuit of the martial sect in the future." Obviously, Long Tingyu knew a lot about this, even more than Yi Tianlei. "As long as I kill you, no one will know our identities," Tang Jing said. Long Tingyu rolled his eyes and said, "So that's how it is. Not only is she a cultivator, you are also a cultivator. No wonder you have such strength at such a young age. But it's too late for you to know now." Tang Jing had already made up his mind to kill. Before he finished speaking, he immediately pounced forward, the War Soul sword glowing with a black light, thrusting towards Long Tingyu's chest. Long Tingyu turned pale with fright. This time, Tang Jing did not hide his identity as a cultivator. The flying immortal from Heaven Sword technique was extremely sharp, and with just one move, he had forced Long Tingyu into a corner. Long Tingyu resisted in a sorry state, but it was like a mantis trying to stop a carriage. The War Soul sword directly pierced into his stomach, and with a lift, he was sent flying to the door. Please recommend you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.